Make it like we just abruptly stop it, and that can't just make it kind of fade away, like kind of spooky and scary like.
I'd have to work on it.
Well, whatever.
It was like a jump scare, basically. It's just jump scares in your faces there. I mean, I don't know what kind of image we're trying to put out here, Anthony.
Folks, I'm sorry we got in so late. What's been going on? And I know that a guy named Derek out there who hates me talking about my personal life. He says, you talk way too much about your personal life. And I said, well, I want to be one of those people that's not I'm not one of those people that's like dark and mysterious and trying to hide from my audience and I'm the man behind the curtain. No, I'm open and I'm out there with you guys, man. I'm here with you. You know, this is all happening. We're dealing with it together. We're not on our own here. And I'm gonna give you some information about what's been going on in my life, and because it pertains to the show. So Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. Send me your stories. Patreon.com/PRT podcast. Here's what's happening. So we did the mail offs last week, but we didn't do them this week because Jeff Miller and we got Dinah Russo, okay, and Dave Howe, but I didn't get anything from Steph O'Connell, Michael Sincor, or Jeff Miller. So, and I'm going to reiterate that later when there's more people in the chat. Maybe they're not here right now to answer for themselves and for their behavior, and why you would win something from us and not contact us.
Gonna have to put you on the actual breaking wheel.
Speak to the Spanish Inquisition. You're not going to speak? Okay, we have ways of making you talk. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I can do something. We'll do something. We're going to get you. Don't worry. And we're going to force our merchandise upon you. But the point is, I'm making light here. But no, seriously, we finally got some, like we were doing not good work-wise financially, and we were kind of hurting. And so me and my business partners, we busted our butts and we got some work. We just been at it. I've just been pounding the pavement trying to get some work, man. I've been walking around the neighborhood, mostly just kind of going like, I got these cheeseburgers, man, you know, and people are like, ooh, get out of here, you know, and I'm just like, and then I offer them my services, and they're like, ooh, disgusting. And then I thought, this is not the best way to try to get business. And so I decided to do it the old-fashioned way and just offer them security. Yeah. And so they said, okay, yeah, we'll take the security. We don't want the cheeseburgers. And I said, okay, well, that's what we'll do. And so, you know, after that, some people said, okay, bet. And then they, you know, do they still say bet, or y'all's generation doesn't say bet?
No, we do. I do. I say it all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, you know, I didn't know how y'all sling when.
Yeah, no, bet is still a thing.
Yeah.
It's still a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. It's still a G thing?
But the Gen Z thing is already.
Already. Well, no, because we said already.
Either that or.
That's boomerang back around.
Either that or low key.
Yeah, that low key stuff.
To be honest,
hey, when Stefan, we have an employee, and he's been on the show, Stefan, and he was saying Loki, and Loki's standing there going like, what?
Yeah.
What? He's like, he's not talking to you. He's saying what? Like what? Like I'm answering you. What do you mean Loki? But you know, it's crazy when you look at what's been happening in the world, and things are happening so fast. Okay, and I'm not telling you that I have all the answers, but you know, I try to do right by everybody as best I can. I try to bring you the stories and what's going on, and we're getting. And I, you know, part of the reason I do this show is because I want to bring you the information, and this is a platform to not only tell stories, and it's my passion and all that, blah blah blah, but also to warn you. You know, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I'm a therapist. You know, 400 people don't, you know, 400 or 500 people in the chat every week don't show up for a therapy session. Okay, that's baloney. I'm never going to sit there and go, this isn't entertainment, because if you're not entertained, you're not going to be here.
You show up to have fun. That's why we're just cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Talk
why we're here.
everybody,
it's cool to have
jokes.
fun. And so Friday night, everyone who takes their time out on their Friday night to sit here and hang out and be entertained, this is what we do. And so my question to you is, are you not entertained? Tell me about your problems. How long have you been going through this? You know, that's not, you know, that's not what we're doing here. Okay, there's people out there literally saying crazy stuff like that.
If you just want to be spoon-fed stories, there's these wild things called books. that are very, very good at that.
Yeah.
They're a lot better at spoon feeding you stories than Josh Turner is.
Yeah, there you go. He's entertained. Look, are you not entertained? Dude, your shirt is like, what in the heck? You throw it in the dryer. Like, what?
I should have done. I was
Like you
lazy,
just got
didn't
in the
want to
arena
fold my
with that
clothes, and this is what happens when you don't fold your clothes. It gets all
Because
wrinkly.
it's a nice, those
just
Psycho Bunny
one of my
shirts are
favorite
nice,
shirts.
man. And you're just like, here you go. Just throw it in the garbage or whatever. Folks, I'm going to be real blunt, honest with you, folks. We officially are living in a haunted house. And I'm not saying that because I'm into the paranormal. Like, we lived in the place before this, and you didn't hear me going like, man, we got stuff going on. It's popping off. No, and I talked about the place I lived in before, 15, 16 years ago. But now it's gotten, if we went to DEF CON, would it be like DEF CON 3 at this point?
Probably.
I mean, it's feeling.
What is that one? Is that the worst?
I don't think it's the worst.
4 is
There's always more numbers than it
Now
goes.
5 is like the least bad, and then the lower the numbers go, the more in the
oh, it goes in
crisis mode you go.
reverse. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're probably at 2 going into 2. I talked to my friend Lyle the other day, and jokingly, like, he is living in a haunted house. He was on my show the October before last with Barton Unley and Ken Gerhardt, and we did one called Bigfoot Dogman or Dogman Bigfoot, whatever, which one was first, Flesh and Blood or Metaphysical. And so we all gave our opinions, and we went back and forth, and we postulated on it. One of the things that no. Did we lose some people there? Susie Jago, thank you for that donation. It can definitely be used right now. Been having some serious issues, like just, I don't know if it's related to the house or what's going on, but he had said that he was dealing with some issues at his house, and I think that what was going on, it's a haunting. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, like, he was, doing some shots with a friend, and something goes flying off of his counter, and it's just odd because I at that time when he told me that, I was not going through the house was not going through all this stuff that's going on now. Now we're sitting here, it's real, and I'm confirming that we have problems. Let's see what I can do.
Is your Wi-Fi on?
Yep, turned it off.
Okay.
Yep.
See if that helps,
People
guys.
Just saw the stream like abruptly end, and including myself. So I mean, like, we're still going, but it was just kind of like a glitch or something.
Sorry about that, folks. And see, when we talk about this stuff, now, what happened tonight, and I'm going to ask everybody, this is real serious. We're not joking around here. I think I'm what I would consider what's going on in the middle of spiritual warfare at this point. Something, I think we pushed it out of the house, and so it lingered in and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened to me tonight. And I was going to tell you a story about something completely different, and I think right now I'm just going to tell you the truth about what's been happening. And this involves us. It involves my brother. It involves Scorpion. It involves Zane. All of us. We've been experiencing this. Even our handyman.
Even Alex has experienced it.
Alec. I mean, this is no joke, folks. We could use any good thoughts, any good vibes, and prayers, especially prayers. But that's what's happening. We're having some problems, man, and I am not joking, and we need all the prayer we can get. And if you find it in your heart to help in any way, then please. If you all tonight, and I'm going to reiterate this later on, find it in your heart to pray for us, then, thank you. We appreciate it, because we need all the help we can get right now. This thing came up, whatever it is, tried to get it. It was like it was trying to crawl on me when I was walking through the entry room earlier today, and it was like it was trying to get back in. And so I denounced it in the name of Christ, which is what I do. And outside, my wife goes outside with the dogs, and something walked up onto, and it wasn't the dogs, it was something else, and it walked up onto the patio and went straight up to her.
Well, actually, I think she said she didn't even have the dogs at the time. I think that's why it freaked her out so much, was that she was just back there by herself at the time.
I thought she said the dogs were in the yard. I don't know.
No, I think
I can ask her. She's in the studio because she came to the studio because she doesn't want to. She's afraid to be at the house. So, hey, Nellie, did you have the dogs with you on the patio? Nope. Okay, no dogs. So it was definitely because I asked her that, and she said no. So before we left today, that's why it took so long to get going, and then I was exhausted from we drummed up some work, and so we're doing these 24s, and the guys here are dog tired. They worked all night and today, and I've been doing stuff all last night. I didn't go to bed till 2:00 this afternoon. Then I woke up at like 5:30, went back for another 30 minutes, and then. So I've just been on the go. I've just been really tired, and stuff is happening at our house, which makes things really hard. Now, if I were to sit here and tell you everything that's gone on since we first started, since we moved into that house, it's been like, first you're in a war, you don't even know it. Okay, little things were coming up missing, and we started thinking that somebody was stealing. Then we started finding them in weird places. And when we first moved into this house, and I'm just going to give you the whole 411 right here. We'll start from the beginning. We moved in. But first, let me ask you, the audience, do you want to hear about this haunting that we're dealing with? If you want to, or if you want to just say you don't want to hear it, we can move on to the phase where you guys go and run and buy tickets for the conference. It's up to you. It's your choice. I can give you the hauntings, or you can all go buy tickets for the conference. Because there's something we need to.
I mean, we all know what answer we want, but it's really up to the audience.
And also,
right
if
now.
you're a Patreon member, the $20 or $30 tier, you need to get on it. Go on there on Patreon and let me know, because that's how I'm trying to keep track of it. Titan, thank you for that donation. I haven't seen you in a while. Titan says, hey, Josh, perhaps prayer against curses. Regardless, y'all have our prayers, blessings on you. We thought maybe curse. We don't know for sure because we've been cursed before. Because when you do this kind of stuff, you deal with a lot of Fab Welder, thank you for that donation. Put on your spiritual armor. That's right. And when you get, it says $10. Was it? Oh, it's what is it? $1.99, $10.
I think you meant to donate.
I think you meant to donate $10. You put $10. Put on your armor. On my mama, I put on my armor. Okay, I was confused by that. Get your conference tickets, folks. Just getting that out there because I want to see as many of you as possible. Please, I hope you can make it. I really want a good crowd. And I don't care about making money on this conference. What I care about is that you show up. Okay, I want you to show up and support the guests that are taking their time out to show up, to do this. And all the money that I'm dumping into this conference center, which is extremely expensive. It's a lot. And I'm putting a lot of my money out there. And at a time where everybody's financially kind of shaky, I get it, including myself. We have been hit hard financially, extremely hard. And so everybody, and believe me, like once things get bad enough, all this you see me wearing, that's my investment. It's going to be melted down, probably turned into some sort of coin or currency. Not joking. When it comes time, because investing in gold is what you have to do. And hopefully we're not there yet, but it may come to that. I've made no bones about gold being important, and silver too. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what's been going on. So from the beginning, we moved into this house at the beginning of December, okay? And I want you to know that this is absolutely true. Somebody says glitchy tonight. Something's going on with
it just kicked me out again. Sorry, guys. I mean, it's not ending the stream. It's just weirding.
It doesn't want us to talk about it.
I don't know what the heck is going on.
No, I know what's going on. I know exactly.
I think it started because like on mine and your Wi-Fi were on, but they're off now. So all of our internet connections should be dedicated to this live stream at this point. So I don't know why it's still doing that.
Go ask Nellie if she's
she might have her internet.
Maybe to not have the Wi-Fi on, because it just kicked everybody out again. Live stream. This is crazy, dude. This thing doesn't want me to talk about it because I need the help. Barton just messaged me and said the live stream was down.
Yeah, if you just hit the refresh button on your browser, it'll come back up. Or if you're watching on your phone, just kind of exit out of it and then come back to the channel, and you'll see the live stream back up. Okay, people are coming back. We're back at 139.
Okay, I'm sorry that this is happening, folks. This is what I'm talking about. Every time that you know, I've been trying to deal with this. David Weatherly and his wife, Teresa, beautiful people. They came over and we celebrated his birthday. He turned 60 in my house on Tuesday, and we were sitting there telling stories in the sitting room about the devil's backbone. That's pretty much the only room they wanted to go in because he felt it right away. And there's some things that I've uncovered, that I believe we've uncovered, that we are really not at liberty to talk about because we don't want to stir the hornet's nest and maybe get sued or maybe have, I don't know what you would call it, the temple of something or another come after us, because that's what I think I think that's what's going on. And I think it goes beyond. I think it's the neighborhood too. I'll say that. I will come out and say that. I'm not joking. There are too many coincidences, and I don't believe in coincidences. We moved in. Not one. The people that were living there before us told us, "Oh, it's a great house, great neighborhood, blah blah blah. Everybody there is so nice, and all of the neighbors are so cool." And one of the things that they mentioned was how awesome the neighbors were to them, and when they moved in, and how forthcoming they were and inviting, and that they all celebrated Halloween real big, and that they closed down the whole street for Halloween. Well, we moved in at the beginning of December. That was in November when we talked to them, when we saw the house in early November. Then December comes, we move in. We go through Christmas, and the entire neighborhood's dark. Especially on our street. Not one Christmas light on our street. Nothing. Not a decoration, not a Merry Christmas, not a nothing. And no people were coming over and saying, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood." No, they would literally get out of their vehicles and they scowl at you.
I mean, we really only had one situation where I thought like we might have one good neighbor. It's where we had these blackouts happening, and you know, the neighbor came by and brought us candles, but I think it was literally just one guy going to every house bringing candles. So it's like one good neighbor out of the bunch.
And we don't even know who that was.
We're all surrounded. So
they did it in secret. They gave us candles, like holy candles, you know, in secret. It just said from a friend. And I'm going to tell you, who does that? Now, it's good that they did that, but why would they do it like under the cover of darkness in the middle of the night in secret? And then I've had more than a couple people come through there and have weird feelings and weird stuff. And, you know, one of the handyman's guys was like, I felt like somebody was standing behind me. He'd worked on the house before we moved in. The people that were there before didn't really want them there. The house was in a state of disrepair, and so we had a lot of repairs to do. The landlord's been really good about that, and we had kicked around the idea of buying it from him. And thank God we're not, because I am building out in Lago Vista now. We got our loan. Thank God that went through. Everything's going to happen for that. But that's another battle that I'm going to have to fight, because that's going to be another drain financially to get that done. But we have to get it done, and we have to get out of that place. And I'm telling you right now, I am being as serious as a heart attack. We need to get out of that place. I'm not going through another South Austin. I don't, my business partner, bless his heart, he's a great guy. I've been business partner 16 years now, 15 years. Started with him about the time I lived in the last place I was in, which was after the haunted house in South Austin. And I'm going to tell you right now, I see Scorpion in the chat. I don't see my brother. Somebody tell him to get in there and moderate. And we went through hell, and now we're going through it again. Vault says, "Did you use those candles?" No, we did not. Not yet. We got some other candles that we have up here at the studio because some of the subject matter I deal with can get dark, and I try to be a beacon of resistance, like a light that you guys can rally around to go against all this stuff that's happening. I wish I could sit up here and tell you everything I know about the world around us, but the powers that be are too strong, and they're not going to allow me to come straight out and tell you this is who's doing this and this is doing that, because I believe I know. And the strongest person on earth is nothing compared to these beings unless you have Christ, you have God, you have the armor, the Holy Spirit. And it sounds like, oh, here we go again. A bunch of people are complaining about religion. I'm not religious, folks, so I don't know what that is. I talk about religion and other religions and whatever. But you have to I'm having to go room to room, casting these things out in the name of Jesus. I can't do it myself. And I need your help, folks. I really do. I'm asking you to kindly help us. Okay? Pray. Please envision the white light and so we can get rid of this. This stuff is strong. Whatever these people did, it's very strong. And at the risk of putting myself, and I don't want to say a bunch about the people because there's stuff I can't talk about because I can't prove, but I can tell you right now, somebody at some point in time in that house did some bad things. They were involved in some bad stuff. And I don't even want to say the name of who I think they're what's behind it, because they could potentially, there could be some sort of, I don't want to stir the horns.
Names have power, so. Yeah,
and when I walked outside tonight, after my wife had the spiritual encounter that freaked her out, and it takes a lot to do that. She's been on edge and so we walked. I had to go outside onto the deck and denounce this stuff and walk around the table and everything out there. We have a little setup, and then I walk down into the darkness because these people, for some reason, have no lights in the backyard. They had the dimmest light I've ever seen. Like they wanted the darkness there all around their house. And then the backyard's huge, but I go into the backyard and it's completely dark, and I felt it like it was crawling on me. And I'm opening up to, I'm telling you the absolute truth. And when I started to denounce it in the name of Christ and I began to do what I did, I heard, like it was on the other side of the fence in one of the neighbors' yards, and I heard a laughter. And it wasn't a human laugh. It wasn't a person. It was something that sounded demonic. And I just was like, whatever. I'm not afraid of it. I mean, I'm not. I've dealt with it before. This isn't my first rodeo with this. But it was demonic. It was evil, and I had to, put my foot down because, folks, if you're in a fight and somebody punches you in the mouth, or you anticipate a fight, you can't just sit there and mealy mouth and play around or whatever, dude. You have to go all in. You have to be ready for this. It's total war, and that's what this is. And it's bad. It's really bad. And so when you're in the business of exposing the enemy and telling people, hey, these things exist. These are people's stories about these things, and people come on your show and they talk about it, and you tell people stories about it, and you tell stories about your personal experience. This stuff, it takes notice. I don't think that's why this is happening at my house. I think this stuff was already there. Now, I'll tell you what happened. When we first got this place, the apartment that we were at was a nice place at one time, but it has mold. So we had to not be there. So we couldn't, So now Everybody that was over there is now having to stay at my house. And I'm like, this is crazy. So, and everybody's uncomfortable because there is some dark energy there. And I'm talking like from the beginning. I'll tell you what happened when we first, Alec was the first one to move it. He was there for what, 5 days, 6 days?
Yeah, he was there for a little bit by himself.
A little less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
He told us a few things, but he didn't go into a lot of detail. And I think he didn't want to, and to his credit, I don't think he wanted to make it like, you know, stir it up or whatever and make everybody afraid and freak out, because we wanted a new beginning and somewhere to be until we could get the house build back on track, which I think we have. And so what ended up happening is he goes and stays there. And we were just coming like every day, bringing some stuff, and then we would leave. Well, multiple times he thought that we were there because he heard people. And then at one point he heard like a loud popping, or he heard a thud too. Another time he had a thud, like boom, like something fell, and there was nothing there. There was no one there. And like I said, he kept looking out the window thinking we were in the driveway. You hear talking, whatever, and it wasn't us. We weren't there. And he would call me and be like, "Are you guys over here?" And he even believed that it followed him to the studio because he was here a couple times and he thought that we were like outside the door. And I told him no. And so I kept telling him, I don't know what's going on. But we've had stuff in our bedroom. We had an armoire that the people that lived there before wanted us to buy, and I think it was just too big for them to move, and so they didn't want to, and they wanted to leave it there. And it had a really weird design on the top of it, which is it looked like a maze, and there's spirals everywhere. Like the curtain rods have spirals on them. They had pins. I shouldn't even probably be talking about it, but these little spirals with snake heads on the end of them. I'm like, what is this, dude? They took that with them, but they left the armoire, unfortunately, and we had to dismantle that thing and throw it out. I'm laying in bed about 2 months ago, and the door, I wake up. I just wake up out of a dead sleep. I'm just like asleep, then I'm awake, and I just sit up in bed, which I never do. I don't sit up in bed. I kind of lay there for a minute, and I roll out, and, you know, my body type kind of, you know, facilitates rolling out of bed. I'm joking, folks. I do, though. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm only serious. And so the thing, the door popped open to it. You have to pull on. It was a beautiful piece.
Oh yeah, I mean,
lovely cherry wood, and it just pops open.
Antique. It was honestly gorgeous.
Probably could have sold it, but we decided to destroy it, not sell it. And so I was like, why did that thing just pop open? And it was like, okay, this just happened. And then when I was there by myself one night, I heard 3 loud bangs, which is something that my wife had told us. How many times had she said that while we were here at the studio recording, or while we were doing the show, or while we were at the gym?
Yeah, it's always constantly. She hears a banging somewhere else.
Yeah, she would hear it mostly from the armoire, which now she thinks is just because of where it was at on the wall. And I'm sitting here going like, and I'm going to use this, whatever this is, vampire steak or whatever, to scratch my back. Yes, I'm doing this. And so I had not heard the banging like that before, and I experienced it. More than once, I've been in the bathroom. We have a guest bathroom, and when I'm in that, I'll just use the bathroom right there or whatever. And I've gone in there, and I'll see shadows moving on the floor, and I'll open the door, and there's nothing there. And I'm thinking it's one of the animals. We got animals, you know, and they've been disturbed. You know, they'll start freaking out, barking and hissing. The cats will hiss, and the dogs will bark, and you know, everything will go crazy. Guinea pigs will be squealing. The rabbits making noise. The ferrets. I mean, it's nuts. They'll start going crazy. The birds are just going nuts. And you're like, what is going on here? And folks, I wish I could sit here and tell you that I am not affected and that I am this pillar of strength, and I try to be. but it is really, really, really getting on us now. And having a show about the paranormal, my business partner, he was saying, he goes, you should do a show about it and make that into an attraction on the show, whatever. He doesn't understand what I do, doesn't watch the show. And I told him, no, I got plenty to talk about on the show. I don't need to have this happening to me.
I mean, this is the reason why we don't go do
investigations.
We don't want to attract anything to us. We don't want to bring anything with us. We don't want to really experience anything. We're more than willing to, unfortunately, have to talk to these people that have experienced these things and talk to these people who, we can have it like that, because having to deal with it yourself is just too much. It's not fun, even for us who are into the paranormal.
Yeah, we don't want to, and not to sound like selfish people, but we don't want it happening to us. I mean,
of course. I mean, that's why I said
we'll talk about other people's experiences and put them out there.
Yeah,
and we're not like happy and giddy because they're going through it. It's because people go through this all the time, more than you could possibly know. And the people that were there before was like, "Oh, his house is great," supposedly Southern Baptist, but I didn't see one cross. No, God bless this house. Nothing. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm not going to talk bad about them because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to stir the hornet's nest. But yeah, right. Nothing going on there. And then we found some weird stuff, which I'm not, like I said, I can't talk about. I'll tell you what, if you come to the conference, if you guys come to the conference and you talk to me, you want to hit me up in private away from everybody, I'll give you the 411. I'll talk to you in person, but I'm not going to do it on my show because there's a lot that's gone on, and I just can't. My back is itching. I'm sorry. And it's just in one spot right here. Oh, God.
You can't get it? Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry about it, man. I want to scratch my. Go and grab the back scratcher.
Oh, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's how it works, right?
I've never scratched your back, sir. No offense. I'm sure it's great.
Well,
but,
Ral, what about at that baseball game when you're just all over me?
That's a story. I don't want to get it. I'll tell that story one time. But this isn't the time for chuckles. But yeah, that's a funny story. Okay. So, anyways, all joking aside, like seriously, this is what's going on. Now, my friend came over. He works for. His name is Salah. He's a good guy. He's Muslim. He immediately went to this little closet and then to our bedroom and started praying. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I need to get rid of this, brother. You have some issues here. And then David Weatherly comes over and he comes into my bedroom and he starts clutching his chest. He's like, dude, I feel like I can't breathe in here. And then Zane, who we had not talked about any of this to him, tells me today exactly what David Weatherly told me. Because my nephew is spiritually sensitive, as we all are. That's why we do what we do. And I was like, okay, that's crazy when someone in the last 3 days tells you the same thing. So, there's issues. Sometimes you feel like something's crawling on your skin. But the mistake I guess I made was I told it to get out of the house, that it wasn't welcome, but I left it on the property. So tonight I had to go around and remove it from the property as best I can, but I can't do anything. Only through God, Christ, can I do it. You have no power over these things. You're only given that by God. But
it's also, I think, one of the ways that
it is
the devil or the demons really use to take away your power is that they make you think it's your own. That's something you hold, so that it's giving you this pride in something that you're really being given. It's something that, it's an honor and you have to earn. You like you said, it's your birthright to have, but you still have to earn it and you still have to live correctly so that, it's not something that you possess and you're using it like it's a magic power that only you have.
And don't be foolish enough into thinking that you yourself are capable of these things. You're not. Okay? You only have that through Christ. I'm telling you right now. Whatever religion you are, you believe, whatever, there's people who claim that they have done it through Buddhism. They can do it through all these other religions. Good for you. I just know one way that I do it. I don't discount other people's religions. Y'all know that. I think everybody has a little piece of the puzzle. But when Jesus says, I am the way, I am the light, I am the way to the Father, that's it. I believe that. And it's what's worked for me. And if it never worked for me and prayer never helped me, I wouldn't be doing it. I would just be like, okay, well, I guess this doesn't work, so I'm going to move on because it's something, But it does, and it has, and it will. And I could use all the prayers I can get. And if you don't believe like that, then send positive vibes, positive energy. I need all the white light I can get. Tony tried to envision white light a couple days ago, and it made him sick. He had a headache. It really does go after people. It really does. And I don't want to waste time, whatever, talking about my problems. But like I said before, Steph O'Connell, Michael Sincora, and Jeff Miller, if you could get in touch with me so I can send your stuff out. I don't want to have to make a bunch of different trips.
I also wanted to talk about someone who you were telling us about that sent a really great comment. Maynard W. He sent us a little post and and it was just really good things he said. So I just want to say thank you, appreciate it. It means a lot to us, especially now, to still get that support from you guys and still get those messages saying how much it means to y'all. Like, it means a lot to us.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing some work on some ghost stuff coming up here, which is something I've been planning on doing anyway. So I thought it was interesting that this happens at that time. And I mean interesting not as in, oh, cool, this is interesting. No, like interesting timing. Because, you're delving into things that these things don't want known. They don't want you to have that energy, that ability. It's kind of like the elite owning 80% of the wealth when there's like 1% to 2% of them. When everybody's scared and just stays in line and stays in their lane. And through money, which is Mammon, he's the god of money, one of the gods they serve, they do what they do. They control us through it. Can't do anything without money. And a lot of things are being done to me right now. I don't know if it could be cursed too. But whatever's there it's just really acting up. It's ramping up. So I've recognized we were cursed maybe 3 years ago? I think it was about 3 years ago. We went through it. And talking to Patrick Meek, and he was on the show, and he talked about it, and we went through several of our friends and talked about it, and I'm pretty sure because we saw like everybody's health went bad and everything was going bad, and we had to turn it around and we had to get it off of us. That's what happens when you do this kind of stuff. And so somebody throws something at you, and you're already going through heck, when you're going through hell. And then somebody throws something else on you, and it kind of recognized that I said about a month ago, I think we're snake bit. No pun intended, because these people were the snakes and all that. I don't know what their deal is with those. But, these bad things that have been happening. And then all of a sudden out of the blue, one of my credit lines just gets destroyed. Happened yesterday. They just, Thursday afternoon, sitting there, and they were like, oh, well, we decided to reduce your credit line from $14,000 to $1,600. $1,690. What a weird number. Like, who comes up with that number? Like, why that number? Which is really weird. When you break it down, it breaks down to 7. And our house is a 7 house. The numbers break down to 7. I'm 7 life path. Now, through numerology, you would say, hey, 7 is, the number of spiritual enlightenment, and then that's a good thing to have a 7. But through feng shui, it's the opposite. That's not really how you're supposed to. So there's all these different viewpoints, right? But in the Bible, over and over again, 7 is a good thing. So I don't know. I don't know what the significance of that particular number. Why would you cut my credit line from $14,000 to $1,690? And now I got to restart and go back and try to figure out how we're going to pay for everything with the conference. which there's other avenues. We got it. We're going to get it done. That's not a question of if. The only problem I'm having is I want to see more people than last year. And right now we're behind on the ticket sales. Now I get it, they're a little more expensive, but you're getting a lot more. It's an entire weekend, and you get to meet some really amazing people and hear a lot of amazing people talk. And they're going to, the people that were there last year, they're doing different presentations. And the people that are new, it's going to be fresh. You're going to have these presentations. If you haven't gotten your tickets, folks, and some people choosing not to go through Eventbrite and just talk to me directly, that's fine too. But we got to make sure that we have your name and everything down. I have a few people that don't know how to use the Eventbrite. Let's put it that way. And that's fine. Just message me so we can keep track of your names and everything else. And another thing I want to tell you is your children are free. Now, don't bring a 23-year-old kid and go, this is, Jeb. He's not real smart. Him and his brother George and his brother Joe, they're all in their 20s. And, well.
Jeb's got a child already, but yeah he's still.
Yeah. Two of them used to be presidents. One of them, whatever. And then the other one used to be a governor. Can they attend? I don't know. And you're like, yeah, but they're like a little old. So I would say let's cut it off at a teenage level. I mean, within reason. If you have like up to like a 13, 14-year-old, they don't have to pay, dude. I don't care about that. I just want you to go. Come hang out with us, break bread with us. Let us feed you, and let's have a great time. Of course, we got to pay for the conference. I got to pay for the speakers, and I'm going to lose my butt on this thing. I already know I am. I already know that. I mean, it's like I've already done the math. It's going to happen. I'm going to lose a bunch of money. But what I lose in monetary funds, I hope to gain in
a good time.
A good time. And I'm actually doing this conference for you, my listeners. And I'm surprised that not more people have, like I said, we have a lot more tickets for sale this year. The venue is huge. And so we're paying like 10, almost 11 times what we paid last year for the venue. No, not 11 times. I'm sorry. 9 times. Is that correct? Am I even doing the math? Wait. 8 times. It's 8 times. The venue is 8 times bigger. Thank you, Sugar Bitch, for that donation. And so I really hope that the Paranormal Roundtable people will step up and show the rest of the community out there that we are strong and that you support what we're doing and that you guys just show up. Just come to the event and let me treat you to a good time. That's what I'm doing. That's what we did last year. And then Vault says he's not coming. Well, that's great, Vault. Way to go. Thanks a lot.
He wants to take you to the Ozark, I think.
I don't want to go to the Ozark. I want to go to Fort Worth, to the Lake Worth, where the Lake Worth Monster is. Now, let me tell you something about the Lake Worth Monster. It is one of the most. Can't deal with that right now. It is one of the most publicized cases of its time. Now, I'm going to have Lyle come in on the studio one night when he's in Arizona right now, but when he returns, I'm going to come in, and he's going to sit in, and we're going to talk. I'm going to have David Wedley come in, sit in the studio. Ken's going to sit in the studio. Everybody that can make it down here is going to come and sit in the studio. And then those that can't, we're going to have them come on the show one by one, and they're going to give you a little, brief synopsis of what, and who, bio, whatever. And you're going to see why you need to come and see these people talk in person. And why you need their books. And I'm so excited about it, too. Folks, if you come and you are a Patreon member, you're not going to leave empty-handed. No one's going to leave empty-handed, but if you're a Patreon member, for sure, not only am I going to refund part of your money for your ticket, but I'll give you something. Here's 35 cents. I'm joking. Seriously, let me buy you a book. Let me buy you something. Let me from one of the vendors. You don't have to take my book. My books will be out by that point. We're nearing the finish line of my books, and we've been really busting, like just really getting after it. I've been trying to get everything together, and so it's going to be a big event, and so that's what we want. I don't care what it costs if I have to go broke doing it, which at this point looks like I am. it's just, I want to do something for you. I want to do something for the community. And let me say something else. I was talking to David about this the other day, and David is a good guy. He doesn't talk bad about anybody. He's very neutral. But he himself, he's like, dude, there's a lot of nasty, mean people in this field with a lot of egos. I've been accused of being an egomaniac. Dude, if I was an egomaniac, dude, I wouldn't put a shirt on at Sam's that was 4 times too small and walk around asking people if I thought I looked good in it. People are like, no, sir, you're not. It doesn't cover the bottom of your belly that's sticking out. Okay? But in my defense, I identify as a thin person. That didn't work too good at Nissan the other day when I asked them about my seat, and they're like, this isn't covered under the warranty. What did you have sitting in this? Was it like a really large animal or something, like a manatee or a hippo? I'm like, no.
Well, there's an elephant in the room, and we need to figure this out.
I was like, it was just me. And the guy looks me up and down and goes, uh-huh. And I'm like, look, Jonathan, just because you're thin and svelte, okay, doesn't mean that you're more thin and svelte than I am. And he's kind of thinking, I know what he's thinking. He's probably thinking, no, it does. And I'm like, yeah, okay. In your mind, amigo, because in my mind, I am Michael Phelps. And I identify as a thin, fit person.
And even if I was big and fat, I would be healthy at every size.
That's right. And
600 pounds and healthy.
fat shaming is a real thing, folks. It's genetic, people. It's genetic. It's not what you eat or how little you exercise. It's genetic. Okay? Yes, I eat 8,000 calories a day, but that's not what causes this.
Diets don't work. It's stupid. You're very ignorant. You should educate
That's right.
yourself.
Sometimes I walk out to my truck and I waddle into it. That is hard for me.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go put timestamps on Paranormal Roundtable shows so you can get to the stories faster.
And sometimes I have to have people put butter and olive oil around my hips. But, folks, it's saltless butter, which is more healthy, and the olive oil is healthy for your skin, and it's good for you. No. I make no bones about it. I be honest. I'm honest. I am a very large and muscular person, but I'm also slightly overweight. I mean, not even probably 10 pounds, I would say, is one of my love handles. I will say this. You're not going to fool people when you say, hey, my seat's messed up, and they look at you and they're like, this guy is weighing in over 400 pounds. Like, here, this guy is probably the reason why. Now, I have big old legs, and I have big arms, and I have a big chest, big shoulders, but I got a midsection. And the guy's probably looking at it going like, uh-huh.
Yeah, you should have had me go in there and be like, "Oh, this seat's just messed up. I don't know why."
And then what do? We tell him you're me, and you know, like you have my ID or what?
No, I just
and so I've lost weight, keto. Does Tony go there? But you know, in my defense, I did not. I think was that. In my defense, I did not allow. Freaked out, looked like a spider or something on here. I saw one. It was on my leg the other day, dude. I was in there doing some work, and I was like, I looked down. There's a freaking spider. So, folks, in my defense, I do not participate in being mean to people who are skinny or overweight or anything like that. I don't judge people based on anything. And if you are overweight or whatever, join the club. Okay, I'm not after people. I see a guy that goes in the gym all the time, and man, he busts his butt, and he's losing weight. He's doing it, and I see him, and I root for him. You know, it's what it is, and I'm trying to get healthy, and I want to have a reason for it, and the conference has given me some goal, trying to, but every time I try to get something done, it's like it gets derailed, and now this thing with the house. And I don't want to call it ghost because this isn't ghost. This is something else. And that's another thing, too. I've been seeing spiders around the house, too. And I'm just like, this is great. And it's, we already had an issue back in February where the electricity was out And then we smelled gas, and apparently the gas fireplace, and we thought at the time it was something we did. Now I'm looking back going like, probably not. But what is it called? The flue? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It was closed down or whatever. And I was like, dude, this isn't, I think it's out on my arm. Dude. That's a dead spider. Oh my gosh. I think I just killed one with my arm. Dude, is this?
Man,
Saw one a minute ago, dude. I'm
you're
not.
gonna give me the creepy call.
I don't like spiders, dude. I'm not joking, man. And I just saw one, and it looked like it was on my arm. Like, and it definitely looked like a dead spider.
Just check under the table.
We got to get like some pest control in here, dude. That's the problem. We don't come up in here enough. I'm like, But anyway, folks, sorry, I don't want to disrupt the live stream. A lot of weird stuff going on, dude. So we end up having like issues, with this house, and we had to put all of our pets back in February in the car and drive around looking for a hotel, and all the hotels were booked up because everybody's power was out. And then this freeze caused all the tree branches to break and fall, so a lot of our coverage now is destroyed. So this summer we're all going to burn up. So I'm sitting here going like, this is ridiculous. It's just been one bad thing after another, and our landlord is like, dude, he's like, that house is cursed. I said, let me tell you something. It's not just cursed, it's haunted. Now, he admitted to me, he's a very nice guy. He admitted to me, because I've had problems with that house and keeping people in there. The last people that were there the longest. And it says, Wolf, you guys have brown recluse spiders? Yes, we do. I've killed 3 of them in the last 2 weeks in my house. One in the sink, right? One in the sink. One in the sink. Nellie killed it. She lit it on fire with the flamethrower we have. It kind of looks like the one from The Thing. And I'm joking. It's just for spiders. And then we have one that was in my tub in the guest bathroom. I went in the guest bathroom, and nobody really showers in there or anything, hardly. And there it was. Big brown recluse. And then I killed one in my study. Was something crawling, and I killed it. And I looked, and after I crushed it, I'm pretty sure now the Buddhists would say, you should catch it and put it outside.
Yeah,
we had a lizard, and it died, Jim. But anyway, it just, I don't know what to do. There's some really weird stuff going on, and we need your prayers. We need your help. Now, the weird dreams, we've had weird dreams, and me and my wife have woken up, just both of us just sweating and dude, the dreams, just weird. My brother comes over, and Scorpion comes over. It was before they had to come and hang out or whatever. My nephew, my godson that moved out, they've all had weird dreams there, just staying the night. Now, we were all having these weird dreams and stuff, and my godson was talking about wanting to move back after he went and chased his girl, and it didn't work out at all. But he wanted to come back, but he doesn't want to live there. And I'm like, I don't blame him. I don't want to live there. And my friend David Weatherly came over, and he's like, you should move. And I'm like, I want to move, but I have to build this house first. Because I'd already bought this land. I have no choice. So I have to do that. I can't just uproot myself, But this thing was in our backyard tonight, and I'm telling you the honest truth. And I heard this demonic laugh into the neighbor's yard. And according to a few people who've come over, they believe that the whole neighborhood has stuff going on. I'm inclined to believe that too. I don't know what they're into. I've been told what they think it is, and I can say, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Not a good idea, but that's a good, that starting point, but maybe not. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with mazes or spirals, but look them up. It's not a good thing. And when you leave the main road, the main highway road, whatever, to turn onto our road, what is that? See, what is that? I thought I had knocked it off, but I think it's underneath there. No, man. It's brown. Oh, dude. Oh, man. You get it? See, I thought I had knocked it off earlier. See? Oh my gosh.
All right, now you got it.
Dude, okay. All right, now I'm freaked out. All right. What is this, dude? Like, serpent in the rainbow over here, dude? Man, okay. This isn't, I don't want to be sitting here. No, I don't even want to. Okay, we got some weird stuff going on in the studio now. Okay, but anyways, sorry folks. I don't know what that is. We got to get that. Oh man, probably had a hatch of them or something somewhere. Killed a nasty spider in the last month in the bathroom here in the studio. Went in there and I was like, looked down and there it was crawling around and I was like, oh, brown recluse. Really weird because you have southwestern recluse, golden recluse, brown recluse, which are all found here in Texas. Okay. Somebody tried to tell me they weren't. I don't care what you look up on Wikipedia. We have them all here.
No, they're definitely here. And it's a necrotoxin too. So
yeah, and I know someone who was an anthropologist, and she said that they definitely are here. And another person I talked to, an etymologist, said the same thing. And they're here, and then they're found in Tennessee where all the caves are. Guess where in Tennessee? The LBL. So why would there be this huge gap? You know, they're scattered around, but they're not. They're in huge concentrations here in Central Texas, brown recluses, and then they're in Tennessee, right there in the LBL. Now, years ago, people in Tennessee in the LBL will tell you they didn't have a hog problem. There was a hog problem here in Texas, but now it's over there in the LBL. Why are all these creatures that are not native there showing up there? You tell me. It's really weird. It's because they want people out of there. And now all the ticks have Lyme disease. And we've discussed that. Anthony told everybody about that, why that was. Yeah, Alex, football coach, got bit by a brown recluse, and he lost his lower leg to it. It's no joke. So, well, yeah, Bernard says moisture and humidity levels probably. Yeah, that's one thing, but our moisture and humidity levels aren't any worse than Florida or any other place in the South. Like, all the states between here and Florida have more humidity than we do.
I mean, we're right next to Louisiana.
Yeah, so why don't they have brown recluses everywhere? Yeah, Matthew Osborne says we have brown recluses in Illinois. They're found all over, but the highest concentrations are here, right here where we're at, and then in the LBL. Which is weird. Yeah, Troy says hogs are good food for large mammals. Yeah, that's true. So what you end up happening is I'm going through this situation with this haunting, and it's real. It is absolutely real. We've had weird dreams. You know, Nellie was literally attacked by something in our bed. And we don't know what it was. You know, I was there, but she had woke up to it and she screamed and freaked out. And it's been, bless her heart, she's the small sweet one, and it's going after her. These things like to start off with the smaller people and go after animals when they work their way up to where they get to where someone like me would be the least affected, because they're not just going to confront you head on. Typically, they're going to go around until they get strong enough. And then it's a full-blown invasion, whatever. And that's what happens with hauntings. And there's been a lot of weird stuff. I was sitting in my sitting room, and I kid you not, I was sitting there talking. Anthony and Tony were across from me. We have this big, large sitting room. And I see this black ribbon-looking thing come out of the I'm not joking, okay? I freaked out. I told him right when I saw it, and it was like black, this thing about the size of my hand. And then it turned into like a little ribbony thing, and it zipped off real fast. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That was about 3 months ago. That was back in like January. And I'm like, I know how it starts. At my old place, literally, I came home, all my fish were dead. They looked like they had been boiled. I took 2 of them to the Aqua Dome place years ago over here in Austin. It's a big aquarium place down south. And my friend that used to work there, he said, dude, these things have been cooked. How? He said, I have no idea. Did y'all boil them? I'm like, Daniel. His name was Daniel. I said, Dan, come on. Does it look like I had time to sit around boiling my cichlids? What, I just wanted to know what the heck, what could cause it. And then one time I was laying on the couch. This is my old place that I lived in 15 years ago. Nothing like this happened in my apartment. A few little things. I think the spiritual was transient there. But this stuff resided there. And it looked like somebody was taking their arm and swirling around the water. And it was like a little tornado going on in the middle of my aquarium. My fish were flying all over the place. I saw my dog fighting with some sort of invisible entity. And I thought, this is it. I found a nice place to live. I'm not going to have to do it. And it didn't feel bad when we first moved in. Everything seemed fine. We did get some antiques from these people because they just left them. Not all of them we bought. We bought a few pieces of furniture from them, and they left all this other crap, which caused a rift between us and them completely to not anyone talk to them. And I'm sitting there going like, why would you leave all this stuff in that armoire? The knocking, the door opening by itself. And I'm getting out of the shower and I get like this weird waking vision type thing. I'm seeing something bad happening. And then there's mirrors facing each other in the bathroom and I'm going like, oh, that's great. And, so I'm sitting there and I'm listening to my friend Lyle tell me about the haunting at his house. And he's got some weird backstory to that house, too. And I'm going like, dude, I said, isn't it weird? You get COVID, I get COVID. You get in a haunted house, I get in a haunted house. I don't know what it is. But I don't want to be in it. I don't want to deal with it. And it's negative energy. For the first 2 months I was there, I couldn't really do any work in the study, in the office. I kept having to pray, kept having to go over and try to get whatever was in there. It was hanging on, and then it kind of dissipated. And then we got something really negative happened, and then it was like all kinds of stuff. We had a big old argument. Everybody was arguing and fighting with each other. It involved work and a bunch of arguments, and stuff. And it was something big involving work. And did you read that?
Well.
So anyway, I'm sitting here going like, what are we doing? How do we combat this? Prayer. That's the only weapon that you really have. And you have to be strong in your faith. And so I've told it to leave, but I guess it didn't get the memo that it needed to leave the whole property. So then I end up out there tonight with some demonic laughter going on in the neighbor's yard. And that wasn't the neighbors. The neighbors, all their lights are dark. And I want to say something else. The whole neighborhood is dark. It is a nice neighborhood.
I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
It's just like everywhere. It's not even just like our neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like everywhere around there. Like I have automatic brights on my truck. So that means like if I'm ever in a dark area, they'll automatically turn bright. But every time I'm driving through that neighborhood, my brights are always just flashing on and off because it's just like there's pockets where it's just like midnight. And
Well, it's just stupid because like on our whole block, we're one of maybe two houses who actually keep a porch light on at night, but like everyone else will have their houses like pitch black dark on the outside every night. And like we'll go in our backyard, I always keep a light on back there because break-ins happen, bad things happen at night. So you want to, if someone's in your yard creeping around your house, you want to be able to see them. It's common sense. But like nobody else has any lights on ever.
Yeah, it's very weird. Somebody said, do we ever bring the conference to Ohio? With the stress that I'm going through with this conference, I think this is going to be it. I said that last year, I was going to try and make it, an annual thing, or maybe that would just be it. I would just do one and that was it. I'm wishing now that I would have only done one. I'm telling you right now, I wish I could have just, I don't know. It's very stressful. It's been very stressful for me and Ken Gerhardt, I ate dinner with him on Monday, and then Tuesday I had dinner with David, and me and Ken, we ate at a haunted restaurant, which is reputedly haunted. It's Alpine Haus in New Braunfels. The owners talked to me, and so the managers and the waiters. And they stopped by and they talked to me and Ken about it. The guy, Norman, the waiter, he's a good guy. He might be listening even. But he told us some stuff, you know. And yeah, I don't somebody says what model you're staying? Oh, Andrew, I think we're staying at the Best Western. I think that there's going to be a block of rooms for the speakers there at the Best Western. So yeah, stay at the Best Western if you can, because I got to get that done. That's another thing. But with one of my lines of credit just absolutely just taken away, just unceremoniously dumped, yeah, I'm going to have to wait a little bit before I can get all that done, because the price of the conference is ungodly. So anyway, we're gonna call our guest and get him on the phone here, and he's a very interesting guy. I think your guys are gonna like this. We're gonna talk enough about the haunting and the ghosts and all that. Unless he wants to talk about it, we'll talk about that. But we're gonna get into some stuff about the Ozark Howler, and I hope you guys can stay up with us. And it is Friday, so a lot of people don't have to work early in the morning. Unfortunately, we do, but it's a good thing. It's not unfortunate. We have work, and that's the important thing. So let's get this going here. You want to put us on there?
You're going to do it through Facebook?
And somebody said, get holy water. Believe me, we already do.
Any messages?
Third one down.
Yeah.
Yep. No. Yep.
It's 11:11.
11:11.
Hello?
Can you hear me? I can barely hear him.
All right, hang on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can barely hear. He's going to adjust the sound so everybody can hear you. Folks, this is D.A. Roberts. D.A., you want to introduce yourself? You've been on the show, I think, once before.
Yeah, I think a couple times, but it's been a while.
Did we ever
my name's
record
D.A.
together?
Roberts. Do what?
I don't know if we ever recorded together. We need to record together. That's another thing we need to get done. Like, we really need to record together. So...
Yeah, we definitely need to do some recording. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Sure.
My name's D.A. Roberts. I'm an author. I write primarily fiction. I do have some nonfiction books in the work. I write a lot of cryptid horror. You can find all of my books at daroberts.net. I have 29 currently in print with 30 about to release. I'm also a paranormal investigator, cryptid investigator, have been since I was a kid. Been digging into Bigfoot and Dogman for ever, it seems. And I host a bi-weekly podcast called DAX Machina on every Wednesday and Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Central.
Yeah. And explain to people what that means, because I talked about it the other day.
DAX Machina is a play on a literary term called Deus Ex Machina, and it's an old writing trope. How you had some of the old books where people would create a character they would write him into a corner, and then something almost godlike would happen to save them and rescue them. Yeah, that's called a Deus Ex Machina. It's Latin. It means machine of the gods.
Yeah.
And it was an old plot device that a lot of writers would use to save characters that they'd really written into a bad spot. And I always thought that was an interesting literary play, but when I wanted to do my own podcast, I started out mostly interviewing other authors, and I wanted the name of the show to reflect my literary roots. So I came up with a play on my own name with DAX Machina, meaning machine of DA.
Yeah, because it's God in the machine, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so with that... with it's and I explained that the other day about your show, and I was like trying to tell people like what that meant or whatever. But you were doing a show, was it 2 weeks ago or was it a week ago, about the Ozark Howler?
That was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a subject I find kind of near and dear to my heart, since it's been seen all throughout this area. In fact, two of the most recent sightings are within about an hour's drive of my house.
And so, hold on one second. So, one of the things that I was going to ask is, one of the things I asked, I'm sorry, my mind is just frazzled, dude. I'm going through some heck right now with this. I talked to you a little bit about it, but you know probably more than the audience, actually, because we've spoken about it. Yeah, there's a lot going on that I'm not really at liberty to talk about. But like I said, if you guys make the trip to the conference and you're not recording me, I'll tell you what's going on. I'll tell you exactly what's going on in person. It's really crazy. But you and me had a conversation after that episode, and I had a story that I told years ago on another podcast that was given to me in the Ozarks about the Howler, and I know that's what that was. I really believe that's what it was, because this lady tells me, I have a story about a Dogman, but it had horns. And now I was already aware of the Ozark Howler, and I asked her just kind of on a whim. I said, "Was this in Arkansas or Missouri?" Told her point blank. And she's like, "It was in Arkansas." I was like, "Okay." It was in the Ozarks at a park, like at a state park, whatever. And the name, I don't even know exactly. It escapes me because I didn't like it. It was years ago. And I told this story probably 6 years ago. So, without further ado. Tell the folks a little bit about the backstory of the Ozark Howler, and you've done some research on this, so go ahead. It's your neck of the woods there, buddy.
The Ozark Howler has been seen all throughout the Ozarks, dating back to since before European settlers came into the Ozarks. The Ozark Mountains are some of the oldest on the planet. When you look at the Ozark Mountains compared to, say, the Rocky Mountains or the Appalachians, geologically they are far older. And at one point, the Ozark Mountains were taller than even the Rockies. They've just been beaten down over time. But these mountains and valleys throughout the Ozark regions are old. There's so many old legends of strange things. And I know people that have heard the Howler. They said it's terrifying. And I said, "Are you sure it wasn't a mountain lion?" Like, "No, I've heard mountain lion. This sounded nothing like it. It was just blood curdling." So that, there are people that are still reporting seeing the Howler even today. The most recent one, I believe, was in 2019, just outside of Rolla, Missouri, near where a friend of mine lives. Where three people were walking on a trail, and one of them, a Howler, stepped out on the trail and chased them back to their car. There was another sighting down near Branson, Missouri, where some people captured it on trail cam, but the one that they captured on trail cam, I believe, was a young one because it wasn't very big. It was believed that Daniel Boone had encountered the Ozarks Howler. He wrote about it in his journal. Allegedly, he fired on one at one point and then later encountered it again near Cuba, Missouri, where he killed it. When Boone passed away, he had a stuffed Ozarks Howler in his collection, but it has since vanished. Nobody knows where it went. Teddy Roosevelt was also a huge believer in the Ozarks Howler. Teddy Roosevelt actually set aside the Ozark National Forest as a preserve for the Ozarks Howler.
Yeah, Roosevelt was he was a weird character because he also had Bigfoot. I mean, that was another, one of his what he believes, like there's a lot of people that talk about his experiences and what he's written about them and what he had said about them publicly. And there were other people who'd gone on to quote him and write things that he had claimed. He was an early cryptozoologist, basically.
Very much so, yeah. One of the coolest things about Teddy Roosevelt is he wrote a book in the late 1800s called The Wilderness Hunter, and you can still find it today. And from that book, we get one of our earliest known recorded instances of a Sasquatch killing somebody. It's called the Bauman incident. And Teddy Roosevelt wrote about this trapper that he supposedly met up in the Montana backwoods. Only name the guy ever gave was Bauman. But the level of detail he describes in the story is so amazing. He talks about the type of foliage where they camped, and he talked about the structures they built for their campfire, and they talked about the type of creatures they were hunting, how they set their traps. And I don't know about you, but I've interviewed a lot of folks that live out in the woods when it comes to cryptid encounters, and I never got that level of detail. They never told me, it was this type of tree, or the sheer level of detail that is in the Bauman incident led me to believe that Teddy Roosevelt was in fact Bauman. That's why Bauman never. I don't think that. I think that's why Bauman never came forward, and why there was never a first name given, because this incident, one person was killed, and there might have been questions raised about how the person was killed. So I think Teddy Roosevelt not only didn't want to say that he was Bauman, he also had political aspirations at the time, and this was before he became president.
Yeah.
So if you can accept that, and I don't think it's a huge leap of the imagination to think that Teddy Roosevelt was Bauman, but if you can accept that as a fact, one of the first things Teddy Roosevelt does once he becomes president, he created the National Park Service and set aside, I believe it's 78 million acres of wilderness land that we still don't have full access today. And that's just national parks. That's not public use areas, game preserves, wildlife refuge areas, or even state parks. That's 78 million acres of just national parks.
Yeah, and a lot has been written about these, people saying, hey, the national parks contain, and thank you, Paul Deal, for that generous donation, and Larry Fisher, thank you for that generous donation.
Thank you,
great guys.
It means a lot to us.
It does, especially right now. So a lot has been written about the national parks being a hiding place for these inhumanoids, as Bernard Fox just said, on the chat. But let me tell you something. Like me and you discussed, the story that we got out of Branson. And Tony, we were talking about it. We recorded Tuesday's episode. So so it hasn't been released yet. It'll be on Tuesday's episode, or maybe the following Tuesday.
It'll be coming soon.
It'll be coming soon. But we got 2 weeks of Dogman coming up. This coming Tuesday, folks, Dogman, and then next Tuesday. Oh, and then another plug. I'm going to be on your show tomorrow night, Deus Ex Machina. I'm going to be on your show. And we had this plan for like 2 weeks, and I thought it'd be cool, or you thought, I don't remember who came up with it. I think it was you, but I'm giving you credit here. But you said, hey, I'll come on your show, and then Saturday you come on, and we're going to be talking Dogman tomorrow. So if you want to tune in tomorrow night, I'll be here, right here. And we're going to do a show, and it's going to go on his show, on D.A. Roberts' show. So let's show him some love, and let's show up, and let's fill that chat up tomorrow night, because we're going to be talking Dogman, and I got some stuff coming at you. I got a weird story for you, man. We went over this one. And me and Tony and Anthony, and we were like, you know what? Let's save that one for DA's show, right? Well, Tony selfishly wanted to use it for ours and give you the scraps. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to give him the scrap.
Yeah, I said like we could talk about if someone saw a raccoon or something on there.
And then it was a mistake, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's horrible. But that was his idea, not mine. So I said, no, I'm going to bring the A game to DA, even though Tony wanted to give you the shaft and not help you.
The Z game is still good.
I'm not that kind of person.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, see, thank you, Tony. That's why the other day when we were in San Antonio and David Weatherly was doing his Skinwalker presentation, which is really good, by the way. If you guys haven't seen it in person, it's cool. Yeah, and it was really, he hits it. And so, and me and Ken are sitting in the back, and because there was very sparse seating, and it was a very small venue, and it was full of about 50 people that was left there. A bunch of people had already left, and he was the last one. And it was unfortunate because he does a really good job. And Ken leans over, and because at the point where David said, "Hey, the Skinwalker, in order to become a Skinwalker, has to sacrifice someone that they care about," and he goes, "For you, it would be Tony, right?" And I was like, he'd be in the top 5 people that I'd be like, I could part, with the. I'm kidding.
And then I joked with him, and I was like, it wouldn't work because he doesn't care about me. So
yeah. Well, you were out of earshot when we talked about it.
Yeah, when you told me about it later.
Ken was being serious, though. I wasn't. I was like, come on, Ken, don't do that. But no, Ken did. He jokingly said that, and I was like, that's something I would never even entertain or think about because I'm not an evil Skinwalker. Troy, thank you for that donation. But I was just like, dude, I thought about it. Like, you would have to be extremely evil to do something like that. But anyway, I have a story for you tomorrow night. I'm going to tell it on your show. Two stories, it's for sure. And one of them does involve a Skinwalker,
but maybe for a Klondike bar.
Well, back in the 80s, people were doing all kinds of stuff for Klondike bars. They're like, "Hey, would you kill a man?" They're like, "Sure," because those 80s commercials. They were like, "What would you do for a Klondike bar?" And I was always like, and they were getting more and more ridiculous. Would you just go out there and tear up your car with a baseball bat? And I'm like, why don't these people just go to the store and buy it for 60 cents instead of like lighting their car on fire or whatever. I was like, just go buy it, and that's all you got to do. As a kid, I was like, these commercials are so stupid. But Tony, I just wanted you to know that, Tony, that Ken Gerhardt actually did say.
You told me about this before, and I've been secretly sending curses to Ken.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's nothing. That's just me and him. And it's something we do for fun.
If something happens to him, and it boomerang back, even though Ken doesn't believe it.
Well, Ken is very strong. So
he's very strong. He's got a pet frog that's pretty weird.
I think that's what's been blocking me. I've been seeing some
or
ribbits.
his cat Spooky, either one. They're patrolling. But the thing is. Now, and don't do that. Ken's at a conference, and we want him to. He's helping me a lot. Like him and Barton have been interviewing people and helping me. And stuff.
I actually like Ken a lot. He's
amazing
fun.
people, man.
He's
And
really
DA,
fun.
I'm glad, folks. He's going to be at the conference. DA Roberts is going to be at the conference. He's written a bunch of books. I've read a couple of his fiction. I don't read fiction, but what you do is you base them on actual stuff, and then you kind of take it and run with it. Right? That's what you do. That's how you carve out your stories.
Right. I've been researching Bigfoot and Dogman and other cryptids since the mid to late 70s, and after interviewing dozens and dozens of eyewitnesses and reading so many accounts and watching documentaries and reading books, I've used the knowledge that I've gathered from my own research over the years to create the encounters and the creatures in my books.
Yeah, and they're pretty cool. Like Nick. Mutual friend of ours, very good guy, and Nick Valencia's like, yeah, to check out his books. You like Star Wars. I'm like, I read your book. I'm like, Nick, it's nothing like Star Wars. He goes, I just saying, if you like fiction, Lord of the Rings. I'm like, it's nothing like Lord of the Rings. He goes, I'm just saying, if you. So
you do a really good Nick.
Yeah. I've talked to him enough. I talked to him on the way back from dinner in New Braunfels with Ken, because Ken is giving me a lot. He's consulting with me on my book, and I want him to. He has to look it over, because and David Wedley's wife said this. She's like, I'm doing the right things. When she told me, she said, you had never written a book before, so you got in touch with several people who had, and I've talked to you too, and asked your opinions on a few things, and you guys have all written books. But the worst thing that's happening in the field right now, and I'm not mentioning names, okay, because I'm not trying to be ugly to anybody, but you have all these researchers or these just armchair whoever they are, and they're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a book, and that's like me sitting there going like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go pitch for the Astros, no, thank you, because I'm not a pitcher, and I'm not, I'm 47 years old. I'm not going to go out there and throw fastballs for the Houston Astros. It's just not going to happen. And I had a friend that was like, and he was, bless his heart, he's my friend Pete. I love him, Pete, if you're listening up there in Leadville. Hey. But he would be like, we'd be watching football, and he's like, oh, I could do that. I could kick those field goals. Remember that, Anthony? He told us that he could be a point guard. I told him, I said, no, you can't. That's not, So I was so guarded against, coming out with some crap, and so I've just been just on top of these books, and it's really hard when you've never done it before, and you have to like sit there and micromanage and talk to people and get stories. And so Barton and Ken have been helping me a lot, and I've talked with Lyle at length, and all of you guys have just been really good friends to me. And you didn't tell me, hey, stick to podcasting, because writing is something that I want to have that will always be there. Because what if, I got this weird thought that Skynet's going to come and knock out all the electricity, and then we're just going to have books. And so I thought maybe I should write a book, and then it'll be there for posterity's sake, whatever, And I know that you are a really good author. You have a brilliant mind. And I think that you are one of the unsung heroes. You're getting your credit. Your chat room's getting bigger, though. I like that. I like that you're getting up there, because you deserve it. Like, you really deserve it. And I've promoted you heavily. And I had this one guy who kind of rubbed me and Anthony the wrong way. And I'll say his name, Reginald. But anyway, he said something like really snide, and he was like, well, this guy writes fiction. I'm like, yeah, but he's not saying that it's real. He's not going, hey, 5 true stories, and pretending like they're real, like some podcasters and people, you're writing fiction, and you say, hey, look, these are fiction, but the characters and the stories really draw you in, and I just picked up one at random and didn't realize like it was a continuation type thing. And I was like, oh, I need to go back and read, because I was kind of in the middle of it. And so it really drew me in, and the characters are really good. You do a really good job of fleshing it out, and you use punctuation. So that's important for me because
It's always a plus.
some of these people they're writing little golden books with crayon, and I'm not mentioning any names, but somebody you used to deal with. But anyway, former mutual of ours, and like I said, I'm not gonna mention any names, but I tried to read one of his books, and I was like, I can't do this, and I literally was like, it was making me aggravated, and I was like, I told my wife, I said, am I doing something wrong here? She looks at it, she's like, nope, there's no punctuation, there's no whatever, there's no, the editing is bad, whatever. And so it's hard to do that, but I've enjoyed your work, and I think that you and Nick breaking away and doing the IDP, I'll say this out here on the show, was the best thing that ever could have happened. And I feel sorry for anybody who just decided to stay in that other organization, because you're missing out, because the IDP basically is a phoenix rising from the ashes of what that old organization was. And it's unfortunate that people want to choose sides and all this, because you don't have to. You guys were not telling people, hey, come with us or else. You just wanted to make it correct. And I was like kind of on the fence at first. And then I said, you know what, dude, these guys are in the right. I mean, you are in the right. You guys were not being treated correctly. When you were given the Midwest leadership, you should have been given that leadership. And that was something that we had all talked about. I wasn't an official member of y'all's organization, but I was an ally. And I was getting cut out of the Midwest, which I thought was a shame, because Linda was one of my great friends, and she was in the Midwest, and she was being stonewalled by people toward the end of her life. I thought it was really crappy the way she got treated. And I was like, this isn't correct. Okay. She should have been the matriarch of this whole thing. And I felt like I was fighting a war. And you were with me. You and I'll say this.
100% with you.
Yeah, Eugene, Adam, Keith Van Rensler. Shout out to him, and Art Vyers, good buddy of mine, the Texas director, and then Nick Valenti. And we were like, dude, we tried to appeal to this hard-headed individual and said, look, this isn't correct. There's a lot of things that were left unsaid, but I'm not going to say here. It's not my place to say it, whatever. But that for my part, I thought I was being treated unfairly too, because when I went to bat for Linda, I was basically stonewalled, and I said, look, this isn't correct. This person is an icon in this field, and she's being punched aside by someone who's not a good person, not doing right, and was stealing, saying, this is my work, blah, 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 blah. And you should have been allowed long ago. 2 years ago, I believe it was, when we had this whole, and you should have been able to get what you needed. And so that story that I got out of your region, like in your neck of the woods, about that skinwalker or whatever it was, it was a zombie. I don't know, Anthony, what do you call it? A zombie werewolf? What was it? I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, it was, south of Branson. And, when the people were driving into Branson, they saw that creature. And me and you talked about that. I told you about the story. That's a story that should have been handed over, like that's something that you would have been giving me, if things would have been the way that they were supposed to be, but things weren't running that way. And those stories were free flow of information. That was the agreement. And here I was just sitting there going like, okay, I'm not getting anything. And I had this talk with Nick the other day about how I'm just behind, because now that there's two organizations, the other organization doesn't deal with me at all. They don't give me anything. Thank God I already have like a huge library now, and I have my own show where people are coming to me and giving me stories. But if I was just starting out and I was being stonewalled, it would be a problem. But you guys have been nothing but helpful. And, I want people to come and go to the conference and meet you and meet Ken and Lyle and Nick Redfern and all these people, these amazing people, Ron Moorhead, who's, for my money, one of the best out there. And I was corresponding with Ron today, and I'm so looking forward to meeting him in person. Chad Lewis, and some of these up and comers, that are like Bettina Moss. Man, she is doing she's knocking it out of the park. You and Bettina are unsung in this field. And then, and of course, Ron Murphy was one of my favorites. I love talking to Ron.
Ron's a great guy.
He's a great guy, man. And Jessica Jones, she's coming into her own, and everybody's like the new guys coming in. And then people who are doing things in the film industry, like Christopher Gaetano. He's producer. He's done all kinds of things in films and stuff, written screenplays. He had his own show. He's coming on. Josh Nonocchio, I saw him on the thread today. I know you're on that thread we have for the show, for the conference. And Nonocchio's bringing Josh Hutchins, or is it Hutchins or Cutchins? I think it's Hutchins.
Hutchins, I think.
Let me look it up. But anyway, he's showing up too, and they do work with film, and they do all kinds of stuff. And of course, Josh has What Lurks Beneath, and he's always wearing my shirt, which I appreciate. He's got like 500,000, subscribers or whatever. And, he's always giving me ideas on how to make my show better and stuff like that. And me and you've kicked around ideas, but you write all the time. So the podcast is kind of a secondary thing. Just as me, I do what I do. I'm a security professional, and then I have to, take time out of my business to do this. It's not my number one objective in life. But, I think we've both done pretty well considering this is a secondary deal for us. And, it's been a struggle as of late, though, to drum up business, because when business slows down, you have to go get it. And now I'm having to play salesman and, walk into this guy's office the other day, and I'm wearing a Paranormal Roundtable shirt, and the guy's kind of looking at me like, what is this? I go to hand him my business card for my security business, and I hand him a Paranormal Roundtable card. And I'm sitting there talking, and he's looking at my card, and he's looking at me, and he's going like, this guy is a security. And I said, so if you look at that card, you just give me a call, and then the guy's like, there's no number on here. And I go, oh, sorry, that's from my show. He goes, what is that? I said, that's nothing. This is a show I do. And he goes, no, seriously, it looks kind of cool. And I was like, oh, and I'm hoping this guy's not going to go, get out of my office, we're doing construction here, And I told him, I said, we just talk about all kinds of weird stuff, whatever. Well, he messaged me. And he said, dude, I actually like your show. It's pretty cool. But his wife really liked it, more. He's like, my wife and my son like it a lot, whatever. And so I think we might get some business from the guy. And it may be because his wife likes the show. And I thought, well, that's cool, because I was thinking, I told my wife, I was like, that guy is not going to call me back. I go in there with this Paranormal Roundtable shirt on with a Bigfoot and a werewolf. And then I hand him a card. And so this dude's going
you might have made the best impression possible, though. You never know. I mean,
he wanted to talk more about that than he did the other part of it. And he says, we'll give you a call. And then I think he emailed my business partner, because I gave him his card. I said, well, here are his emails on there, And so I went frantically looking for my business cards, and I'm running around giving people cards. And I don't even know how many of those I might have stuck on people's...
Windows?
Yeah, no, on the construction trailers.
Yeah.
So I probably got about 6 of them out there with the Paranormal Roundtable. They're probably like, "What is this?" What is this? Yeah. But so let me ask you a question, DA. You've been doing this for a while, and you have fielded a lot of weird reports. Now, when you said that about the juvenile Ozark Howler. Mm-hmm. That was another thing. I wanted to throw a story at you and see if you've heard anything like this, because I got one that was really weird, and it came out of Arkansas, the Ozarks in Arkansas. And now the Ozarks do encompass a little corner of Kansas, right? Missouri, Arkansas, and what else? Is that it? Is it just those three?
The Ozarks Plateau runs from just south of St. Louis all the way through southern Missouri, the part corner of Kansas, part of Oklahoma, down into the very top edge of Texas, down where Texarkana is, and the top edge of Louisiana. But mostly the bulk of it is Arkansas and Missouri. The Kiamichi Mountains and the Ouachita Mountains, they butt up right up against the Ozarks.
Yeah, and so this story was in Arkansas. And Arkansas, it's all wooded, just rural. It looks like East Texas all the way through. And so you've been through there multiple times, been to Arkansas. But this story was in Arkansas, and these people, it was 1987, and it was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was in the spring. That's all I know. It was in March, and on a March day, 1987, and this woman's name was Dorothy. and she was driving with her 2 daughters, and they were going to Tennessee to visit her in-laws, because that's where her husband was at. He was in Tennessee helping build her mother-in-law, or remodel her mother-in-law's house. They were driving along. It's a very quick story. It's not a long, drawn-out story, but they witnessed this creature kind of step off into the road, 3 p.m. Right? This isn't no long, whatever. I mean, it wasn't like a long encounter, but she said that she couldn't tell whether it was a cat or a dog, but that it was standing on the side of the road and it got ready to like cross the road, then it stopped. And she got a very good description, a description of it. She said it was brown, like tawny brown, like a cat, but it had very much canid-looking head, and it had horns. And she said the weird thing about it was the horns came up and then kind of curled backwards. Now, is that anything like the descriptions that you've gotten?
Yes, I've heard the Ozark Howler's horns described a lot like a ram's horns. How a ram's horns will go back and kind of start to curve. I've heard them described from being completely black to being kind of a almost like a calico color, like a natural camouflage. The one they captured on the trail cam down near Branson looked like it had light brown stripes in its dark fur. Most people describe it as having red glowing eyes, like its eyes almost glow on their own. But for the most part, people will either say it looked like a giant cat or a giant dog, but it's generally a large adult will be the size of a good sized bear. So 400 or 500 pounds.
Yeah, this one wasn't that big. She said that it was probably the size of, well, kind of asking the question, and she's like, I remember like it was yesterday, but she said that it was more like a tawny brown color. And she said that like the color like of a cougar, and it kind of looked like the body was cat-like, and even the tail looked almost like it was prehensile, but the head was very much canid looking, and the ears stuck way out, and it had horns. And she thought,
especially with the horns, that definitely fits with descriptions of the Howler.
That is so weird. What could that be? Like, what could that possibly be? That is so weird.
Well, the Howler's been seen in the Ozarks since. Well, like I said, since before European settlers, even came to this area, and it has been described as being either a large canid or a large dog, a large dog or a large cat. But they always describe it as having those weird rear-facing horns. So I've not personally seen one, but I've been in areas just shortly after a sighting. And I've seen tracks of what I thought was one. Of course, I didn't have any casting material at the time, but but these things have been seen in this area for so long, and even some of the old timers will say, yeah, they still hear them in the backwoods in the hills. So I think it's a legit creature. I just think it's something we probably haven't identified before. And then, of course, we've got references in history like Daniel Boone allegedly killing one. And Teddy Roosevelt was a member of a secret society that was designed to protect the Howler. It's called the Catanid Order of the Hoo-Hoo, and the Hoo-Hoo was another name for the Ozarks Howler. And it's a legit secret society. I mean, I managed to track it down. It has memberships on like 4 continents, but the only way you can become a member is by invitation only, and you have to work in some field that has to do with forestry.
Wow. In your thoughts on it, do you think it's canid or it's feline, or what do you think?
I personally think it's probably some sort of canine. Now, I've seen a lot of dogs that move like cats, like Catahoula leopard dogs have very kind of, they move more fluid than most dogs.
Yeah, that's true.
They have a really, really fluid gait to them when they're running. So, that could be something like that people are just describing it as having cat-like movements. But 90% of the descriptions, they've said that the head looked very, very canine. Only the thing was the size of a freaking bear. So I think it is just some weird, genetic throwback canid species that we haven't identified. And there's still plenty of room here in the Ozarks where something like that could hide. The Ozarks National Forest and the Mark Twain National Forest basically run up against one another. And between the two of them, there are almost 5 million square acres of undeveloped land.
here's one thing. I'm going to throw a few things out here at you, and I want your opinion on it. What if this thing is, and I always go here because this is what I believe, but I think, what if, like, these things are often seen around cave systems? And the Ozarks is no different. It's got its share of cave systems, underground openings. What if all these things, in particular that, is something that it's from the underground? It's like a species that lives in it, comes out, and it's just like a normal thing under the earth, but within the earth, but not out here.
That makes a great deal of sense. I mean, there's an argument can be made that both Dogman and Bigfoot use those same cave systems to either travel or survive.
Mm-hmm. I was reading about the island of Thule. I don't know if you've ever read about that, but Thule, and a lot of people say it was Iceland, that the Vikings had found Iceland, and they said, oh, it's the white island of Thule, white because it's full of snow. And of course, when I did the small and human, what is it? The one we did, the little people. I forgot the episode we just did.
Puckwudgies?
No, it wasn't. Puck. Well, we talked a little bit. It was, but it's Red Hat.
Red Hat
Goblins or Gremlins. I can't remember the names of my shows. I don't even name them, so I don't know. But anyway, the name of the show was Red Hat Goblins or Gremlins, something like that. And at the end of the show, we kind of touch on that. So you go back and look at that. But it was a story I read, and it might have been in Fate magazine. And I know you're like me, DA. You know, we've both read a ton of stuff. And you know,
Yeah.
If folks, if you come to the conference and you sit around at the end of the night like we did last time with me and you and everybody, we were sitting around by the pool talking, and the conversation was, you're going to hear some crazy stuff. We were just talking, and I love to talk shop with you guys, especially in person. It's really an honor, and to talk to all of you.
That was my favorite part of the show, was getting to hang out with everybody and talk and compare notes. And in fact, my wife and I just today were talking about hanging out with you and your wife. She was saying, I can't wait to see them again. We had so much fun. I've still got the pictures that we were taking where we're all clowning around and holding Bart's swords and everything.
And your son was there. Pictures. He was a great kid. I mean, we had fun. It was a good time, man. Everybody had fun. Bettina was there, and we were all cutting up, and there was a bunch of PRT people there, and it was just a grand time. But we were talking about all these different stories, and whenever I get the chance to talk to, which it's not all the time because I'm very busy and so are you. But when we get a chance to talk, one of the things that I like to pick your brain about some of these stories, and in particular, like when you did that Ozark show, I watched the bulk of it, which I don't usually do. And I was like, man, I was chomping at the bit because I got a story, man, about this stuff. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were on there, dude, because it's something that I wanted to tell you, and this particular creature is very fascinating because, it does have horns. Now, one of these really quick encounters that I got, and I only have a couple of these really quick ones that were whatever, but there was a guy who claimed that him and his wife saw one, and it had antlers, like deer, like small deer antlers. Did not describe it in the way that other people describe it, and he said it was the weirdest thing ever. It looked like a canine, and it just trotted through his encampment there in Missouri, and he said it looked like it had antlers.
How big did he say it was?
Yeah, and about the size of a medium dog. It wasn't there again. There wasn't this huge, like the lady and her daughters that saw the one in 1987. They said that it was like the size of a small cougar. I would say that as they continue to grow, those antlers would have to get bigger. What he saw was likely a juvenile, because if its antlers were that small, I would say they were just growing in. Because I don't see the Howler doing like elk or deer and losing their horns every year. I think they're more like bovines where the horns grow in, or goats where the horns grow in and they stay there. So I think they probably saw juveniles that were just getting their antlers. But what would cause a natural adaptation of a canid or a feline to have horns? I
Well,
mean,
there are rare genetic conditions where they've had all types of animals grow horns. It's a rare condition, but if it's bred true into the species of the howler, it might have started out as some species of dog that we weren't familiar with that had this condition, but now I think it's bred true. I think it's now a genetic part of the species, not just an aberration.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, and now we're going to get into some weird stuff. Now, these are the stories where people make me think that this thing is not a natural creature. This was not in the Ozarks, but it does involve Dogman. This is right here in my hometown, and it's something that I'm trying to work on squeezing into the book. There was a girl, and it really started with my friend Arash, who owns Spinners. And he's very open about it. Like these guys here at the table have heard him tell his story. I mean, they've heard it a couple times. He saw something that looked like it had the backward bent type legs, or whatever you want to call them, the hawk's legs of like a wolf. And it was down on the ground, and it looked like it was eating someone. And this is the first time we've heard this. I've heard this multiple times here in Austin. But the area where I used to live off of William Cannon, there was a period like in 1999 where the police were investigating animal mutilations, and not just animal mutilations, but something was eating animals. And they did tell me and my brother and Scorpion, and that we were all living in that house, which was haunted. It was bad enough that it already had all kinds of crap going on, but then they told us that something in the area was killing animals, and there was a bunch of woods across the street. And if you go down further down behind, there's a store, but then behind there, it's all woods, and it's all grown up now. There's stuff built up, everything. There was a lot of woods between there and Westgate, if you look on a map. And so there was a story that Arash and me were talking about at the club one night when we were closing up. This is when we worked at another club, and it was called Roxy. And one of the bartenders that worked for him, then it changed over, became a club called Exodus. Well, he was the manager. And he used to work for me, and then I left, and he took over. And now he's got like 3 bars, 3 clubs, whatever, restaurants, all this stuff. And so he's a very busy guy, but he'll take time out to talk to me, and he likes to talk about this kind of stuff. And out there where he's at now in Cistern, he thinks there's Bigfoot activity, which is really cool. I guess if you're into Bigfoot hunting, go out to Cistern because there's stuff going on. But he told me that when he was coming home, that he was telling that story. Well, one of the bartenders that used to work for us, this girl that used to work for us, she had a friend. And she said, my friend saw something on the way home one day when she was walking from my house, and she didn't live that far from me. And she was walking when they were teenagers. And of course, back at that time, I wasn't even living there yet in that area. But she was walking down this road which shoots off from Ditmar, and I don't remember the name of the road. I don't know if Scorpion and D are in the chat. Maybe y'all can tell me what the name of that road is. It runs from William Cannon all the way to Ditmar, and it runs parallel to my old street. And it's a few blocks over. What's crazy is that she ran into something that just popped out of the tree line. And those lots right there used to be like 1 acre to 2 acre lots. I think they were 2 acre lots at that time. And she claimed that it looked like the Wolfman, from like the Benicio del Toro, the Wolfman, but she said that it may have had horns because she thought she saw when it turned its head, and there was like a really dim light right there from one of the people's houses. People installed their own like lights or whatever to protect their property. And there were dogs that she said that were always barking and freaking out right there, and she didn't like walking through there. But that night there wasn't any barking, there wasn't anything. And this thing had what looked like horns. And when we asked her about it, and what Arash's sighting was like, I think 10 years later. And he said, are you sure it had horns? And we were both asking her, and she's like, I think so. So when I started doing my show back in 2019, I got a message from a guy who said back in 1978, it happened in June 1978. I looked it up just for this show to make sure I was correct. It was in June, it was June and July because he had more than one encounter. But his story was he was walking down William Cannon, and I'm not joking, DA. I'm telling the audience, this guy, he said that it looked like, his name is James, but he said it looked like something was paralleling him on the right side of the road, right before, about a block before he got down to Westgate. Right there on William Cannon. You can look it up on a map on William Cannon. And he said that it was standing right there in the woods. And when he got a good look at it in the moonlight, he said, dude, I saw something I couldn't believe. And he said it was a werewolf with horns. And now I've probably told this story on the show before, because somebody the other day said, this guy tells the same old tired story. Whatever. Maybe I've told it, I don't know. But anyway, the point is, though...
Well, real quick on that, it's just recapping. I mean, honestly, like we said, we all go through... We get so many stories that at some point we're going to get similarities. So we will go over stories that we've already
Yeah, because
gotten.
it's a thread. There's a common thread.
Because then all that thread matches at that time. So then we'll have to bring it up so you guys can catch up with us. But we're not like reusing these stories and acting like they're brand new things.
No, we're just going back over it. But anyway, I refreshed on that, and sometimes we'll go back and we'll look at these stories, and because I don't have them right in front of me in my notes and stuff, and it'll come up on the show, and I won't be able to like recall the details. With this one, I went back and I reread it like Wednesday, and so I was looking at that report, and I thought that's crazy. And so I tried messaging the guy. I haven't gotten a response or whatever, but he said he had 2 encounters that he gave me, but he had a third one involving his dad. And now it was crazy. He said that he goes, dude, it was years ago. Like there was nothing but woods there, nothing but woods. And he said that it was a very rural area, and he lived further back up in there, which is now a subdivision. The house where he was is gone. But he said he was walking to a girl's house, and he was only like a teenager, you know. And he said, I look over and I see this thing. Now, the interesting thing was that he was walking with a gun. Now, this is 1978, you know, technically in the city limits of Austin, but there was only 100,000 people living there at that time. Not even, maybe like 90. And so imagine Austin is about the size of Round Rock, which is like, you know, it's a suburb of Austin. Austin's like 1 million people now, just in Austin alone. And so he looks over and he sees this thing standing there, and I thought, so I asked the guy, because I had a conversation with him, and I said, are you sure it was a werewolf, not a goat-looking head thing? He goes, no. He's like, once I got into the clearing, I thought it was like a goat walking on 2 legs, because the horns were the main thing that I noticed. But he said it had a werewolf-looking head with horns, and they were ram-style horns. They were, you know, like the backward bent, curved horn. The leggings, he didn't see whether they were hooves or not. Now, the second time he saw it, he was with a friend, and they were talking about it, and his friend goes, dude, I think I saw that one time. Now, you got to remember, not even a mile up the road from there, or maybe about a mile up the road, I guess, was where this girl, the bartender girl, was her best friend or whatever. The girl she used to work for, her name was Sam, but she used to work for R.Ash. Her friend told us. Her friend's name was Laura. And Laura said, dude, we saw it. This thing, I saw it. It looked like... Now, she had her mom drive back through there one day. Now, her mom didn't see it that day. But 3 weeks later, she said it was about 3 weeks later, her mom said that she saw something crouched down. Then you fast forward 10 years, and then R.Ash sees this thing from behind. Now, when it looked back at him, I asked him, I said, did it have horns? And he goes, I didn't see horns, I didn't get a real good look at it. But he did see the body, the backward bent legs, and he said it looked like a werewolf. And how the legs looked on the movie The Wolfman. Now, there was something that was killing animals, deer and hogs, disemboweling them and consuming part of them in our neighborhood back in 1999, because the police knocked on my door. They knocked on everybody's door. And they asked me, and then the fact that you know, I went by Wolf, and the police were like, well, your nickname is Wolf. And how they knew that, I really don't, well, I do know probably. But anyway, they were just like, well, your name is Wolf, and, you know, your brother's name is Jablo, and you got a guy named Squid and a Scorpion, you know, you guys, are y'all into some weird stuff, you know? And I'm like, no, sir, we're not. Breaking the law, yes. Are we doing that? No. But no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I told the officer, and he had a game warden with him. And the game warden was serious as a heart attack. Game wardens don't play around. They're like, well, if you know anything, you find anything, that's a effing felony, what they're doing, whoever this is. But he, if it's a person that's killing them, and then leaving them there, and then maybe they're being scavenged. Well, here's what's crazy. When that game warden talked to me in front of the police officer, he was a certain way. I got him off to the side while the police officer was talking to my brother, and I said, look, I'm going to tell you something really weird. Come back one day when you have a chance. And then I just forgot about it. And I'm not going to lie, I may have been imbibing that day, or I would never have invited a game warden to come back and question me. Because he came back.
If you tell them to, they're definitely going to.
Yeah, he came back, so I was kind of at that point. I was, I boxed myself in, and so I told him. I said, "Look, I think that there has been some really strange stuff that's gone on in this neighborhood." And I told that game warden, I said, "Look, this is back in like I said, the late '90s, '99, something like that." I said, "There'd been some weird stuff going on. Our neighbor, who used to be a drug dealer who sold weed." Jeez, but anyway, he lived next door to us, and he was a real friendly guy. He was kind of like a hippie. He's like, "Hey, man," that kind of guy, And he told me that he had witnessed somebody putting a deer in the back of their truck, like dragging it out of that field. And when he questioned him about it, because he was right there by the mailbox, the guy said, "I found it, and I'm going to turn it in." So when I asked the game warden if he knew anything about that, he said, "No, I don't know anything about it." So he questioned the neighbor again. The neighbor's kind of aggravated that I told him, hey, what he had said. He's like, "Well, I didn't tell him that." And I was like, "Why not? I mean, they're not there to bust you for selling pot. They're there to bust you for killing animals out of season or whatever." But that game warden told me something really crazy. He said, "Dude, this is not a pack of coyotes." And I told him, I literally told him what I saw when I was 15, which anybody knows the show knows I saw a Dogman. Or whatever, they call it a Dogman. He didn't go, "Huh, oh, that's crazy, that's nuts, and you're crazy." And he didn't, he just kind of shook his head, and he goes, and he tells me, he goes, "Let me tell you something, man." He goes, "I hear some really weird stuff here in Central Texas." Didn't bat an eye, didn't go, "Oh, that's crazy stuff, that's a bunch of," was very friendly, very forthcoming. He's an older guy, and he looked like he had probably seen it all by that point. And so we talked for 30, 40 minutes just about this, case or whatever. And he said that this was a single canid creature. And he said, and the footprints were really weird. They were really bizarre. And so then we started talking, and at that point right there, I was already starting to talk, trying to find out more information about, werewolves and stuff like that, because I wanted to know what it was that I saw. Now, this guy didn't come out and tell me he had seen or heard of werewolves, whatever, but he didn't pass judgment on me and tell me, "Oh, that's crazy." He just said, I've heard and seen some weird things," kind of leaving it open-ended, you know what I mean? And so I always wondered about that. But this creature that was in that area, if I had to put money on it, and I am a gambling man to a degree, as you are. You had a good time at the Choctaw. I'm jealous, man. I love going that place.
We should meet there sometime.
We should.
Yeah,
heck yeah, we should.
Sure,
when I get some money, let
me
me pawn some jewelry, and I'll be up there. So what he said was, he said, "Dude, what do you think it is?" And I told him, I said, "I have no idea." But in my mind, I was thinking it's one of these freaking werewolf creatures. Now, little did I know that years down the road, I was going to get more reports, and some of them were going to involve horns. Mm-hmm. Now, Arash didn't see the head so good. He didn't get such a good look at it, but he saw it, and he said there was a body underneath it. And he goes, I put my hand down on any holy book. He's like, it was eating a person. This thing, I believe, in my neighborhood at that time, I think it had horns. And I think it was a werewolf-looking creature with horns. And I've said that before, and I'll say it again. And this guy that James that told me this story about walking through there with his friend, they saw it. And he said I had a .22 pistol, and he had a rifle. Now nowadays you wouldn't walk down, just walking around with a loaded pistol in your hand, whatever, a William Cannon, because it's a busy street full of people. But back then there wasn't hardly nothing. There was nothing, and past William Canyon was nothing. It was just rural. And so that was the furthest south right there. Now it's Slaughter Lane, and you keep going, it's Onion Creek and all that. But back then there was nothing beyond William Canyon. And so he said we were walking, and he goes, and we thought we saw something squatting down, and when it moved, we put our guns at it, and it stood perfectly still, meaning that it was intelligent, and it knew what a gun was. And then he had another encounter with his dad, which I don't have all the details for that one, but they saw it around the same area. Now, there was a homeless encampment there at one time, and there was a guy that became friends with my brother. And he told my brother, and at that time, my friend Adam, they were down getting some food at this place that we like to eat at. They were picking it up, and they told him, my brother's in the chat somewhere, I know he can verify this, and the guy told them, he used to work at that restaurant, and he told him, he said, dude, I was walking home one day, and I saw a freaking werewolf. I never got a chance to get in touch with that guy and ask him. His name was Arturo. And I never got a chance to question him because by the time I went back up about a week later, he had quit. And I collected stories back then, but I wasn't doing a show. So, I never got the chance to ask this guy. But your thoughts on that. Now, tell me what you think.
I'm sure you've heard some of these same stories that I have. I've taken quite a few, even firsthand encounters from people, and then read a good number of others in books and on documentaries of people who described their Dogman encounter, where the Dogman approached them on all fours, and before it stood up, they heard a popping sound. And I think that the Dogman can change its morphology of its hands. Much like a gorilla, how it will roll its knuckles down and flatten them out for it to run on all fours. I think dogmen do something similar, and I think that's why a lot of times people may have, like that case in Montana a few years ago where they killed this abnormally large wolf.
Yeah,
and they said, we don't know what kind of genetic throwback this wolf is, but it's massive. I think it was actually probably a dog man, but I think its paws they revert to this paw type form. And there are some dogs who can actually grip things with their forepaws. I've seen them do it. My Mastiff used to be able to grab stuff and like pull food to him and things like that.
Wow.
I've seen dogs that are able to grip things with their paws. It's kind of neat how they do it, but a lot of dogs can do it. So I think what we're seeing is that I don't think dogmen are bipedal all the time. I think they do a lot of their hunting and stalking on all fours, and I think they change the morphology of their hands when they stand up. Now, having said that, I also think there might be, I'm really thinking there might be some sort of connection between Dogman and the Ozark's Howler. Most sightings of the Howler are very brief. With the one exception of Daniel Boone, who allegedly killed one, but sightings of the Howler are always brief. I've never heard of a story of somebody saying the Howler got up on its hind legs, but even the one where they saw the kids saw it. There's 3 kids, they were teenagers. They saw it near Rolla, Missouri in 2019. Even then, they only saw it for a few seconds. But I think Dogman and Ozark Howler may be related.
Well, and what you're saying also makes sense to me, at least, because if you're trying to hunt and stay out of the way, you're not going to be your biggest form. That seems like, in a way, like a defense form, like a bear would raise up to, shoo off or look bigger and look more intimidating. Like that seems like something they would do when they're in a way in like their most attack, or basically. But when they're hunting, they're trying to stay conspicuous or inconspicuous, and they're trying to stay, hidden from not only our eyes but also whatever they're hunting. So it would make a lot of sense to see them, rely on all fours when they're doing that stuff, and then when they get threatened, then they move in to this, bigger, more intimidating, more physical form.
I think it makes a lot of sense, personally.
Yeah. I when it comes to this phenomena, though, I mean, like a dog man with horns.
It's just wild. I mean,
now I want to ask you another question, and we can get into this tomorrow. Tomorrow night when I go on your show, I'm going to tell that story about the Howler that I got. If I can go back and try to find it, and I'll do some research on it. But because when I did that story on that other show, now folks, if you're listening to those encounters on that other show, and y'all probably know what show I'm talking about, they're not complete because, and like I said before, it's his show. He can do what he wants. He wanted flesh and blood encounters, really, that were just, he wanted those encounters. He didn't want anything else to do with anything else. And so we really didn't I did not get into a lot of other stuff. And if I did, I don't think it got put on the show. So what you got was just the encounters. And unfortunately, I did give him a lot of some of my really good ones that I had collected over the time that I'd been collecting them. But it is what it is, more power to him. I don't care. But the thing is, though, he focused, especially back then when he was trying to build his audience. He didn't want a bunch of woo, is what he called it.
Right.
And I don't discriminate. Whatever story you give, that's what you give. That's what you get. And one of the things that I came across over and over again was the possibility that there was a spiritual aspect to a lot of this, that it wasn't as cut and dry and flesh and bone as people would like. Now, they can manifest as flesh and bone. This is one of the things that Linda Godfrey and me had gone over and talked about, and Tony, you know that. Mm-hmm. We both had talked to her on and off.
Honestly, like when we were doing your recording, I was just in awe and just kind of sitting back and looking, like watching you guys talk. And like, I felt like, honestly, anything I said was interrupting because you guys were just had such a good flow and you guys were just going back and forth and having, a really good conversation. And I was like, I don't even want to say anything and interrupt because I felt like I was out of my league in that. And not like in the sense that I couldn't offer anything, just in the sense that anything I offered wouldn't be as... It would take away from what's really this magical moment that you guys were having. So, it's...
Well, I mean, I don't know about magical moments, but I mean...
It was...
because we talked to her before, with you anyway. Mm-hmm. You talked to her before the show, we talked to her after the show, and we talked to her during the recording. With me, I'd had more than just that interaction. We had interacted mostly by email and text, but I mean, we had interacted a lot afterwards. After that particular show. But one of the things that she believed in toward the end of her life, and she told Barton this too, and I've been on the phone with her, and me and Barton have talked, and she came to the conclusion that, and this is what she told us, and now Barton's in the chat, he's right there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Barton Unley, I'm not a liar, I'm sitting here to tell you, but she said that she thought that these things would come into our world, and that they would have to assimilate, like they would eat, they would drink, they would do whatever, but they weren't really from here. Now, whether or not they were from the inner earth, which is something I had thrown at her, and she was just like, maybe, she never gave a hard on that. But she did say that they had to do things like we do, because they are coming into our world. But one of the things that really stuck with me is like when you talk about the popping sound. Now, I've mentioned that multiple times. But here's the rub, and listen to this one, and we can get into this on your show tomorrow because it's going to be about Dogman. Okay. But I got an encounter, and it was from it was in Helica, wasn't it? Joe from Hernandez Ranch's daughter, oh no, his stepdaughter, the Ouija board. So just not going to get into a long whatever because this story is going to probably be in the book too, and then that's coming out in a couple months, and then of course we'll talk about it on your show. But they conjured up something that looked like a werewolf. And the question asked to the board was, what did my dad see? And this thing appeared. Like I said, I'll get into the whole length of it tomorrow on your show. Okay. So if you guys want to hear that, folks, we'll talk about it tomorrow, and I'll tell the Howler story, then I'll give you a werewolf story too. And if you want, I got a skinwalker one too. I got a skinwalker, what I would classify, if you want to classify him as a werewolf, a skinwalker, a spiritual dogman manifesting, and then I got a Howler story. So we'll get into all that on your show tomorrow. But what I'm going to tell you is this thing popped up in the closet, and they didn't see, the whole thing. Like I said, I'll give it. But there was a popping noise. Now, this thing was not physical. Now, it was manifesting as physical, but one of the things I learned And if you go back and you talk to some of these ghost investigators, and I've talked to a lot of them, I used to, this one of my wheelhouses was spiritual stuff, ghost and Dogman were the two main things that I focused on. Ghost investigators will tell you, and they don't even associate it with Dogman. I've talked to ghost investigators that have no clue about Dogman. They're like, Dogman? And then you'll kind of introduce them to it. And I've had a couple of them that are like, dude, this is crazy. They'll start looking into it and get all into it. But it's kind of like, people who play Dungeons and Dragons, they're not playing StarCraft. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? Like you're watching Star Wars, you're not into Lord of the Rings, and somebody shows you that because it's fantasy and one is science fiction, and then they're like, "Whoa, that's crazy," and they kind of get into it. But what's crazy is I've introduced them, and when one of them was listening to my show, she asked me, she says, because she's a ghost investigator, she says that popping noise is not their joints. Now this is what she said, and I'm not saying that I believe that she's right or wrong, and I explained to her something. Now, before everybody gets all, hot and bothered, the popping noise that you hear is not necessarily their joints. Now, when they stand up, click, 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 that would make sense, right? But there is a precedent for that in the paranormal, and it's in the ghost community. I have sat here in this studio and heard it with my wife and with my nephew Anthony sitting right here to my left. I've heard it, like it was like pop, 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 crack, whatever. There was no Dogman around, but with the encounter that I had, and then the guy that we interviewed is going to be on the show Tuesday on the Tuesday podcast. Thank you. He said that he didn't hear any of that, and neither did I. So it could be a supernatural thing, like when they're appearing, it's like a pop, pop, crack, whatever. And now I had two hunters tell me up in Alaska that they saw this giant that looked like this is the way they described it, was a giant bear, Sasquatch-looking creature. Like if you took a bear and mixed it with a Sasquatch, it would sound like a Dogman, but like a gugwe type creature. You know what a gugwe is.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And that it was like a popping noise that they heard. And so I asked them, I said, was it when it stood up? And they said, no, it just appeared, and we heard like lightning crackling, like electricity, clear skies, everything. And then they hear pop, pop, pop. And this thing's right there not in front of them, but 40 yards away, and they were sitting there looking at it, and they're like, they're just in awe of what is this thing. And I said, did it look like a wolf? And they said, kinda, but more like a bear that bred with a gorilla. And now, talking to my friend Josh Anocchio from What Lurks Beneath, he has a whole series of stuff about this within Yellowstone, and Yosemite, and you probably know that on his show. And it's crazy, these bear, gorilla people, whatever they are, abducting people, children, saying that they were led around by a gorilla bear thing. One guy claimed that he was abducted by them in Yosemite National Park, and he was held hostage. I mean, it's like on his channel. You go look. And it was going on, and then there was like this disappearance, and then all these soldiers came in. And then that stopped, and then everybody started seeing these werewolf-looking creatures, which I interviewed somebody who saw one dead on, and he said it did not look like a bear gorilla, it looked like a werewolf. So when you get into that, like whole smorgasbord of whatever these things are, you sometimes come across these stories of pop, 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 and people think, oh, that's them standing up, whatever. But Tony and Anthony, y'all know as well as I do, some of the people we've interviewed from Hernandez Ranch, they did not say that they were popping, pop, pop, pop. Mm-hmm. They were just appearing, and they moved very fluid, kind of like our guest that we recorded with for the Tuesday podcast. You guys got to check that out when we drop it.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
It's going to, well, we don't know yet, but we hope it's going to be a good one.
When I was there, I honestly think it's a really good one.
Anytime Tony's there, he thinks it's good because he's there.
Well, yeah, honestly.
Yeah. He's like the kicker on the team, and he goes, I'm the main guy because I kick the field goals. Okay, guy, whatever. The point is, though, is that that's what this phenomena produces. People think, oh, I got the answers. It's this thing's joints popping in place. And I've heard that. People say that it happens. But what if it is a supernatural thing, but in order for it to be in our world, it has to be physical, right? So then it does the popping thing because that's how, and I've had people tell me that they've witnessed transformations and it looks excruciatingly painful. One guy who was a former, I wouldn't call him a Satanist, I would call him a cultist, but he claimed to us that he witnessed a transformation and it looked like it was awful. And he heard that popping, but he also heard a crackling noise. So it was like something otherworldly taking place. Now, I don't know what all that could be. And like I said, tomorrow we're going to leave some meat on the bone and we're going to talk about it on your show. And so I hope everybody that's in the chat will join us. What time is that going to be, DA?
Well, we always go live at 8 p.m. Central.
Okay, so we'll be there 8 p.m. Central because you're Central, right?
Yeah.
That's the good time. That's the Central time. So your thoughts on that, DA? Give me your thoughts on, run it down for my audience. Tell me what you think is that is.
You know, I spent most of my adult life in law enforcement, in one capacity or another. I've been a corrections officer. I've been a field cop. I even worked as a head of security for a major hospital. But in all of my experience, I've always been trained to look for the physical evidence, to look where the evidence goes. And I'm a firm believer in not making the evidence fit my theory. I base my theories on the evidence. And sometimes the evidence takes you to places you don't necessarily think. I mean, now, granted, you don't go to a crime scene and you find somebody locked in their house and they've obviously been murdered, but there's no sign of forced entry. You don't look at that body and immediately go, demons. You just can't do. You just can't do
that's
that.
not going to fly.
But through the process of elimination, if it looks like something paranormal was involved, that's where the evidence takes you, and you've got to be willing to have an open enough mind to let the evidence take you where the evidence takes you. So I can't rule out paranormal when it comes to these creatures because nobody knows for sure. There are no experts in this field, and anybody that claims they are is trying to sell you something. Mm-hmm. We don't know. All we have is theory, and that's why I think shows like yours and shows like this, where we come together and we share this information, we don't hold anything back from each other. How we sharing of this information is how we're going to bring these mysteries home, and that's too much infighting among shows. There's a lot of shows that are just I don't like this guy because of this, that, or the other. But your show and our show and a lot of shows like ours, we all work together. And we're 100%, in support of each other, and that's the way it should always be. But I think when you start talking about the popping, I think that you're on the right track. I mean, if it's not the morphology of their bone structure changing, there's got to be an explanation for that popping sound it's coming from. And if they weren't there 1 second, then they are the next. Who knows what that could be? We know portals exist. We know for a fact CERN opened one. So it's not like we're saying that, we're not going to say that portals don't exist. That's baloney. Portals don't exist. We know that's absolutely false. Science has proven we can open portals. We don't know how it can be done in the natural world, but then again, I think when you look at the rest of the universe, especially if there are aliens coming here with advanced technology, we're just cracking the surface of physics of what we're capable of doing. And they're existing on a level far beyond us. So if they're extra dimensional or even alien in origin, their understanding of physics makes us look like basically the Stone Ages. So God knows what they're capable of doing. We have no idea. Could it be the sound of a portal opening and closing? Could it be them taking a physical form? It's impossible to say with any certainty. I personally, my theory is, my personal views, I think everything I've led things. I think they came from within the earth. Mm-hmm. I'm not, and I don't rule out portals. I don't say it's impossible, but I look for the more physical explanation, and I think the most logical, especially when we look at the size of the Mammoth Cave structure and how deep some of these caves go. I think we would be insane to ignore the possibility of there being entire civilizations existing miles below our feet.
Yeah, and you got a lot of the ancient civilizations that claim that they're openings to the inner earth. And people, when they think of ancient civilizations, they're thinking of a few thousand years ago. When someone talks to me about ancient civilizations, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of years ago. Because if you look at the list of the Anunnaki kings, I'm not going to get into a whole sermon about that, but there were 8 kings that lived for 240,000 years. And you're like, how in the heck did 8 kings do that? And it doesn't talk about them being dynastic. It was their name being over and over again. And another interesting thing, just to touch on it a little bit, and we can talk more about it tomorrow night too. But okay. if you look at the War of the Gods, there was a war in the Vedas, in the Hindu versions. There was a war in heaven in the Christian version, and in the Muslims they talk about Iblis and how his rebellion. We have stories of Satan or Lucifer, different versions of stuff that happened, and of course there's all these different versions, and the Sumerians were no different. They were just more ancient than the Bible even. Like their records predated by a long ways. And one of the things that they talk about in their traditions was that there was a god, and he had a wife, and her name was Tiamat. And there was a war with one of her children named Marduk. And I'm not going to get, like I said, y'all can go look this up. It's, somebody the other day said that I was getting all this information from L.A. Marzulli, which I looked into him, and he seems interesting. He's somebody I might want to talk to. I didn't know anything about him. I had heard, I think his name, but I didn't get this information from him or Ancient Aliens. This is stuff that I looked up and read myself. Anthony, Tony, I know y'all are biased because y'all are my nephews, but I read about this stuff constantly.
You can read?
No, I just watch Ancient Aliens, but
Well, yeah, I know he reads because he talks ad nauseum about the things that he reads about, which is
well, I got to talk to somebody,
and because he's always reading, he's always talking. I'm like sitting there falling asleep, and he keeps going and going and going. Wow. So, look, I'm just reinforcing your point. Okay, that you do a lot of independent research on your own.
Yes.
It's not watching TV. And it's not listening to other people and taking their information. There's a lot of just reading, but long before this show was even a thing. Mm-hmm. He was always reading all the time.
I have a huge library.
You used to have a clipboard of every book you've read.
Yeah,
and you would have it scratched out.
I used to, yeah.
It was pretty impressive.
And I don't include the books that I didn't finish.
Mm-hmm. Only the ones that you finished completely, and it's not even just finished. It's you already absorbed the knowledge that you had in there.
Well, there was over 1,000 of them, over 1,000 books, and that I had. I was actually when I got to 1,000, I was like, hey, I finished actually 1,000 books. A lot of people can't do that because they don't have time or whatever, or they're illiterate. I don't know what, but Mark Twain, and I like to quote him, D.A., and okay, because you're an author and a pretty good one. But Mark Twain said, there's no advantage that a person who doesn't read has over an illiterate person who can't read.
Exactly.
So if you don't read and you refuse to read, then go pound salt, because these people will go, I watched somebody's show for 30 minutes, and guess what? I'm an expert. And they'll try to argue with me, and I'll be like, how do you know that person did the right research? Why don't you try learning several languages and then try learning to understand about a dozen of them? Then maybe you can whatever. Yeah, somebody said L.A. is dialed in. L.A. Marzulli, I don't know much about the guy, but after looking into it, after I was accused of that, and people go into the comment sections and they try to roast me, and on these, and I laugh. I talk crap back and forth, and it's just, I enjoy it. I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I just laugh. Like one lady said that she put in the comment section, she said that, she goes, Wolf's family is getting COVID every week and asking for prayers. I've had it twice. And I was like, because the thing to do is if you get it and you get sick, and God forbid it ever happens to you, DA, you ask for prayers. That's what we do. We take care of each other. I'll pray for you. I'll pray with you. I mean, but she said we were getting COVID every week, and I was like, yeah, my COVID's acting up. I need some prayers, and I'm like, when is this?
Maybe she has short-term memory loss, and she's watching the same episode week after week.
Well, she might just
This guy's getting COVID every week.
She's only seen the
What
show
an
twice.
idiot.
Twice, and both times it was when I had just come off of COVID. I blame Lyle, even though he wasn't around me. I was like, how come you get COVID and I get it? I was like, Lyle, are you doing something
I
that's
think he gave it to you by
throwing it off
association.
on me, dude? Like I called him up one time and he was like, I'm just getting over COVID. A week later, I got it. And I'm like, dude, I think that phone call, I think they're getting through us through the cell phones. And we laugh about it, but it was like, he was sick as heck. And so was I. And so was my family. And so I actually, mentioned it on the show, but I guess this person thought it would be some way to make an in on me. And it was in the comment section on the Expanded Perspectives interview. If you haven't heard the interview on Expanded Perspectives, I give like a, snippets of different things that that have happened to me and things like that. And one lady goes, well, I don't believe anything he says, something about I've seen every cryptid on Earth. I'm like, when have I said that? When have I ever said that I've seen every cryptid, or been like, yeah, I saw a goat man. No, I haven't seen goat man. I haven't seen a chupacabra. Well, I saw a blue dog, but dude, Ken and Nick Redfern have both done a lot of work on that, and I was all excited, and I called them. They kind of burst my bubble on that because they were like, well, yeah, they've both seen them too. They were just like, yeah, they're just a genetic anomaly. They're everywhere. Ken's like, I was coming back from a conference, and I saw one outside of Abilene. It was like, wow. I was like, so that there goes that. That's not a cryptid. So I guess I've really only seen one, and maybe a side back profile of a Bigfoot, maybe. I don't know if you want to count that, but as far as cryptids go, no. Spiritual things, yeah, I've seen a ton of it because it's, some people are experiencers and you can sense it or see it, but it's not like I'm walking out of my house and I'm like, oh, look at that. There's a bat squatch. That doesn't happen. It's not happening to me anyway. And I haven't seen alien abduction or anything, So I don't know what these people are talking about. They just make these crazy comments, but it's really funny. Some of it is so stupid. And if it wasn't, I even told Anthony the other day, we were driving to the gym and I said, hey, what I ought to do is bring it up on the show and read some of these comments. And then he says, no, don't do that because then it gives people a platform to talk crap and then they'll try to get you to read their comment. I said, that's right. But it would be fun though to sit there and just, lambaste some of these people because they're just like, and then in the live stream before last, because I don't read the comments very often, but I was told by a listener, they'll be like, sometimes they'll send me something. And there was just one guy, man, I'm not going to say his name, but he was on everybody's comment trashing me. He went on everybody's comment, and I offered him a job. I said, dude, you are diligent. You are a hard worker who has a lot of time. Would you like to be like somebody who goes in and checks out my comments because you know what to look for because you're a troll? So how about you work for me? And I offered him a job. I was like right there in the comment section. I was like, dude, you can go in there and police and kick out everybody's bad comments, and then I'll give you carte blanche to leave your own. You're the only one who's allowed to, give me destructive criticism.
Well, use that energy to make money. I mean, you're already just freely hating. So, I mean, just use that hating to make an income for yourself. I mean, that's how you succeed in life, is that you take all your best skills and use it to make money.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. The best people who know criminality are former criminals. They hire them. Isn't that true, DA? They hire them as security consultants and hackers and stuff like that. Don't they do that? Law enforcement, they employ.
Yeah. Well, the FBI. Have you seen that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he plays the counterfeiter? Mm-hmm. That was a true story. That guy was really a professional counterfeiter, and the FBI hired him to help him track down other counterfeiters. So yeah, it happens quite a bit.
Yeah, and you being a former law enforcement, you would know. I mean that, and I've had a lot of law enforcement friends, and back in the day, there was and it goes back to the Old West. I mean, there were people that were Wyatt Earp was a lawman. Then he became an outlaw in one territory. State. Then he became a lawman again. Doc Holliday, he was like a stagecoach rider, and then he was a bandit, and then he was an outlaw, and he was he's a deputy. And so, they kind of go back and forth. And I'm not going to say, but I've been on both sides, and I know that it takes tough people to do that kind of stuff, But I've met some really cool cops, but I've met corrupt cops. I've met some really cool criminals, and I've met some really bad ones. Some people that just do things and they make mistakes, but then there's some people that are just absolutely rotten, evil to the core. And, that's just how it is. You know, it's just life. You know, there is not always just good and evil, but we're approaching a time where you're going to have to make a choice. And having talked to you a lot, DA, and been friends for a few years now, I know which side you're on. And I know that we're on the same team and we agree on 90% of the things that we discuss and you know, with our buddy Nick or whatever. And Nick's not everybody's cup of tea, and neither am I. You know, there's people that's like, this guy's arrogant. He thinks he knows everything. I hate that he reads, you know, whatever. they don't want to read a book. Don't read a book. Don't pick up a book. Fine, don't. But for me, I think it's best to just go. And if people will send me things on a podcast, and including your show, and they'll be like, what do you think of this? And I'll be like, well, that's pretty interesting. But the first thing I do is I go and I look it up, and I try to see if I have the physical hard copy of the book. And then if not, then I'll go and I'll try to look it up and I'll read. And then people, when I talk about these things, I think they're like halfway listening or something. And then they'll take what I say and they think that that's my belief. Because I'll talk about something from an ancient religion or a past or something, or genetic modifications of these creatures from the government and all this other stuff. And they'll be like, oh, this guy's crazy, man. He believes all this weird stuff, man. You know, it's just crazy. Everybody's been abducted by aliens. Everybody's got a ghost in their house. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what people have told me, the reports I've gotten, and then what's happened to me. I can only verify what's happened to me and my people. You know, when somebody else says, hey, this is what happened, you know, but it really lends credence to the story whenever I get a story and I'm thinking, God, that's kind of weird, you know, I should just put that in the one-off file, you know. And then later on you get a story in that same area, and it might be years down the road, and there's another person who doesn't know that person, and they saw something that was very similar. It may not be exactly the same, but you're going like, that's a thread. You know, and any law enforcement officer worth his salt is going to go, wait a minute, let me pull this up here. Because that's what you do a lot is investigate. And so you're taught and how to spot liars too. I mean, you know, and it is what it is. You know, I've been around a lot of people, and a lot of my buddies from the old days, man, they can BS, especially if you're a girl and they want to go hang out with you. Boy, they can come up with some whoppers, dude. Like my friend had this one girl thinking he was a mortgage broker. Dude just got out of jail. I'm like, yeah. And it wasn't for anything white collar either. And she was like, she sat down and he's behind her and she's like, so your friend's a mortgage broker? And I'm like, apparently, yeah. And then when she goes to the bathroom, I'm like, dude, you couldn't have picked something else like a plumber. I'm like, what do you know about that? You know? But he had her believing it. That's all that matters is that she believed it, you know. But that's how some of these people are. They can operate like that. Like they can smoothly move in and out of whatever and make somebody believe some bullcrap. And I think what you have in this field is a lot of that. And I think that people, like you said, they profess to be like, you know, expert therapists and whatever else they're professing to be, that what they are. And then people are like, oh, this guy's got all the answers. And then they come across somebody like us who we really are trying to do the right thing. And we really are giving them, you know, our best. And they just discount it because they think everybody's just full of crap.
Right.
And that's not the case. And I've watched your show. There's not a lot of shows I watch, and because I don't have time. It's not that I didn't want to. And I would love to be able. Your shows, I like your show, man. I like checking it out. And you actually do your homework, and that's a good thing, because I've had people get on there, even people that I think are pretty cool, and they'll be like, "Check out my show," and it's like watching Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live. He's like, "Do you remember that time when you saw Bigfoot?" And the guy's like,
I love Chris Farley. So funny.
And he's like, "That was awesome." You know, you're going like, I can't watch it. There's like 7 people in the chat, and you're just like, I can't do this. You know, your show, though, I think is one of the good ones, and your books are awesome. What is your latest work that you've been working on? Give us the name of your newest stuff.
Well, the most recent release was just over a month ago, and it was the first in a new series. It's called Dark Frontiers First Hunt. And it's set in 1865, just at the end of the Civil War. It's about a former soldier who winds up hunting monsters just because it falls in his lap. He's kind of a guy that's kind of got a kind of a shady past, and he's looking for redemption, and winds up finding it hunting monsters. It went to #1 new release in Western horror. I'm really proud of that.
I saw that.
I was so excited when that happened, and it's still selling well. I'm working on the sequel to that, and I hope to have it done around the first week of June.
So there you go. How many books does that make that you've written now?
The next one I release will make 30.
30. Oh, because I told somebody the other day 27. I guess I'm behind. You're gonna be up there with Nick Redfern eventually. You're like, Nick, man. I told Nick the other day how many he'd read or how many he'd written, and he had it down, but he had just written another one, and so he had forgotten about that one. And then later on, I heard him say, and I texted him. I said, "You lied to me," and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about you." "Oh, I'm sorry." You know how he talks. He's such a nice guy. And he's another one that's going to be at the conference, folks. Nick Redfern, really good friend of ours, good guy, and he'll be there. I like him, but he has written a ton of books. I mean, a lot. And I'll tell you another one. Lyle is a great author. I love Lyle, and I love David Weatherly. And Lyle, I didn't know until the conference that he was an English major, which is why he writes so well. And you guys are very well read. You guys write well. And like I said, I'm not a fan of these people who are just researchers, and they really did. And I had one of them tell me, he had the nerve to tell me, he goes, "You should stay in your lane." And I'm like, "You're a researcher, dude. You boots on the ground, go walking around, beating the woods with sticks, whatever it is you do, and then you wrote a book that should have been written in crayon." And I was just like, dude, this guy had the nerve to tell me I should stay in my lane because I was writing a book. And another book, too, and I'm going to go ahead and give him a plug on this one, is Aaron Deese. I like Aaron. Unfortunately, his Texas Dogman Triangle book is coming out a couple months before mine, and I'm hoping that we don't have too much of the same stuff in there. Like we might have interviewed some of the same people, but it is what it is. But I'm looking forward to his book. His book drops the third week of this month. It's coming up. What is this? Oh, in like 10 days. So I'm eagerly awaiting that. I want to read that. And I like Aaron. He's a good guy. Huh? A link
on that. Somebody sent me a link on that one coming out. That's one of them I'm looking forward to picking up. Have you looked much into the Converse werewolf story from Texas?
I have. And it actually happened in Verona. What's it called? What's the name of that town, Anthony? It starts with a V.
Look it up.
You can look it up. It's actually it didn't actually happen in Converse, but that legend goes way back. But the crazy thing is, to me, it is an urban legend that just kind of got spun, But I think it's a real thing. I think it actually happened, and it was a German. But I think it was in. God, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Me and Ken just talked about that literally, because the waiter at the Alpine Haus in New Braunfels, which is a German town, he lives in San Antonio, and that's where Ken lives. And they were talking, and Norman was telling us, asking us if we knew about the Converse werewolf, and Ken and me were mentioning it. We talked about how it wasn't actually from Converse. I forgot the name of the town, but it starts with the V.
Is it Lavernia?
It starts with an L. I'm sorry. Lavernia. I was going to say Vernon. It's not Vernon. Lavernia starts with an L. My bad. But Vernia is very, but anyway, prominent in the word. But Lavernia is where that supposedly happened. And the story, I believe, goes back to the German settlers. Now, the interesting thing about Germany and the Czechs, the Germans and Czechs founded my hometown. And the most of the people were not Anglos. They were Germanic or they were Slovakians. And so you have a few Anglo families there, that farmed in that community, but they were mostly up in Georgetown. Georgetown was very much founded by English, and then Taylor, my hometown, was founded by Germans. As my grandfather would say, Dutchmen, but they're not Dutch, they're German, and Czech. And so the Czechs, more Czech than anything, and they believe that the werewolf creatures that and I'm going to write it, I've written this in my book, and they believe that a lot of it is from the old country. And then, of course, the Mexican population believes it is the Cadejo or the Hombre Lobo. And a lot of them don't make a distinction between the two, but they're two different things. And the Cadejo is very much a spiritual thing, and the Hombre Lobo is like a werewolf. And The white people in the town, the Caucasian people, like I said, they're Germanic and Czech, they called it a werewolf, and it was from the old country, the old countries. There was somebody who had come over who was a shapeshifter. And I just interviewed a guy, just re-interviewed him anyway, who does our cell phone. He works on our companies, all our cell phones for our guards and stuff. And he had a story, and for years I knew this guy. I didn't even know that he had a story, and then one day he said it. And then not only that, but he had an encounter in between Taylor and Hutto, where I'm from, Taylor. And he was with my friend who owned a gun store for years in my hometown, and I knew this guy, Sean. I never knew that he had had an encounter. And he didn't know that I had an encounter, but we didn't go to the same high school, but our parents were friends. My dad was good friends with his family for years and grew up with his dad. And what's crazy is that werewolf encounter, or whatever it was that they had, was in December. Now, there was a flap between October 1990 and December. And we could talk about that on the show tomorrow, too. And I can give you some of their accounts, that we can get into all that. How long is your show?
We usually go 2 hours, but sometimes if we really get on a roll, we've gone as many as 5.
Okay. Well, we'll probably go over 2 hours, my friend, because I got a lot to talk about when it comes to the Dogman. So, in conclusion to this Howler thing, do you have any other accounts to give about that?
There are so many accounts of the Howler. Again, the most well-known ones are the ones that involve Teddy Roosevelt, because allegedly Teddy Roosevelt first heard about it from one of the guys he served with in the Rough Riders going up San Juan Hill, who was a member of the Hoo-Hoo Society, and allegedly 2 presidents have been members of the Hoo-Hoo Society, Teddy Roosevelt and Warren Harding. Both of which died shortly after leaving the presidency of the society. Teddy Roosevelt was brought back to the Ozarks and allegedly was actually taken out and shown one. So Teddy Roosevelt has had an eyewitness encounter himself of an Ozarks Howler. The Howler, like I said, it's one of those things where there's so few sightings of people that have seen them more than just a couple of seconds. But the stories of the people hearing that mournful cry echo through the valleys of the Ozarks are fairly commonplace. People have heard, for more than 100 years now, I've heard strange things howl at night that they said, that wasn't a wolf, that wasn't a coyote, that was nothing I've ever heard before. And I've talked to a lot of people, even today down near Kimberling City, who still occasionally hear one in the woods. And it's a terrifying sound when you hear it. So I think it is very much out there. I don't think it's going away, and I think it's just a matter of time until something like the Howler is shown to be just another unknown species. I mean, that's really what cryptozoology is all about: is studying unknown species. And I think when we do bring the Howler home, I think we're going to find that it has some link to the Dogman in some way.
What are your thoughts? Because you get the reports of the Howler, and I'm going to tell one on your show tomorrow night, and I'm going to tell you the whole story, not the version that was put on the show, the other guy's show. Like I said, his show, you can do it, his rules, whatever, respect to him, whatever. But the whole whatever, the way that it should have been told and the way it should have been received. But here, before I go any further, Titan 70, Josh, just to verify, it will be the best Western in Sweetwater. No, not in Sweetwater. No. This is, it's called White Settlement. It's at Lake Worth, and we chose Lake Worth because of the Lake Worth monster. Do the research on that. Just go look it up. Lake Worth monsters. There's newspaper stuff, all big old story. And people to this day believe that it's there. But the Lake Worth monster is not a lake monster. It is a goat man looking, speaking of horns, it's a creature with horns. It's a bipedal creature with horns, and it was said to have thrown a tire at a group of people, including police officers. And so, it's basically in Fort Worth. And so that's where the conference is. Go to the link right there, folks, at the top of the chat. It says Paranormal Roundtable Conference tickets. That's where you can get your tickets. And if you're not, if you're listening to the show, like a lady tonight, just very nice. I talked to her on the phone earlier. She says, I'm older and I don't know how to, I watch it on my TV, on her smart TV. She doesn't really know how to do the chat, and she doesn't really know how to do the computer thing. And that's okay. message me and we can work it out, whatever, however you want to do it. But yeah, so just the main thing is just go. Just be there. Just show up, because we want people to show up. And last year was off the chain cool. It was fun, and
it was awesome.
Yeah, we had a great time, and it's fun because we're gonna get together and we're gonna have a good time. We're not gonna just, we're gonna do what we're gonna do, all the conference niceties or whatever. But I'm planning on being there through Monday. So whoever wants to go to the water park on Monday and hang out with me at the water park, whoever wants to go and hang out. Let's go eat dinner. Let's hang out. Let's do what friends do, because y'all are my people. I'd love to meet all 533 people in the chat. I'd love to meet you guys. I wish you would all show up. I wish if I was a millionaire and I won the lottery, I would just say free everybody. Just message me, and once I get 600 people, I'll just send you all plane tickets and y'all just show up. But unfortunately, I'm not independently wealthy, by any stretch. And in fact, I'm probably heading into the doldrums pretty soon here if I don't get out of that place. But that's another story. But the thing is, I just want so bad to meet everyone. And David gave me a pep talk on Thursday night. Last night, was it? When did we eat with Sheridan? Was it last night?
Yeah.
Last night, so I was on the phone with him before I went in to meet my real mortgage broker, and I had a meeting with him, and we were getting ready to go into the restaurant, and Freitas, actually I never eaten there before, it's really good. Seafood, it was good, and it was reasonable. And it was. Did you like yours?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah,
I liked mine because you left with yours. I don't know, but anyway, I was getting ready to go in, and David and me were on the phone, and he said, "I really think you should speak." And I said, "Did I talk all the time on the show? They don't need to." But he said, "People are going to go to the conference. They're going to want you to speak." So on Sunday, if time permits, I may speak. And I'll do some sort of presentation. But the main thing is just getting you guys up there and talking and letting you guys do what y'all do, because that's the main thing. I want everybody to be able to get in there and speak and do whatever. And those who aren't comfortable speaking individually can be a part of the panel. And so that's the main thing. And I want so bad to interact and meet my fans and listeners and fans of you guys. There's a lot of people that came to see you guys, and I want that to be the case. I'm so stoked. But I'm so anxious about this. I want it to go well, and I just want everybody to have a good time. I mean, that's the main thing. Just, life, it is what it is. It's short. You only live once. And what are when is there going to be another time you're going to have all these people? I'm lifting my phone while y'all can see it. Yeah, but when is the next time you think you'll be able to have this happen? Because I'm probably not going to do one next year. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. Probably not going to do it. It's too much stress. It takes a lot. And Ken was like, And then we were even thinking about canceling because the ticket sales weren't really going the way we liked. But if I can get at least a couple hundred people there, that's fine. It won't be what it was last year if that's the case, but hey, a lot of people showed up at the door, and once I, it was lined up, whatever, we had 400 and whatever people, it was good. It was 480 people. And
it was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we hope that we get that kind of turnout this year at least, and so I added more speakers and put more money into it, of my own money. And I'm sure I'm going to lose thousands of dollars, but to me, it's money well spent to be able to spend time with my listeners. Now, what I would like to do is be able to do it every year, but I'm going to tell you right now, if the economy doesn't turn around, I can't do this again. This is it. It's we did it once. It was good. We're trying to duplicate it. We'll see how it goes. Probably not going to be able to do it again next year because it takes a lot of money to do this. And I'm doing it out of my own pocket. And so what I would like to do, Maynard says, come see Wolf at the water park in a Speedo. Yeah, I'm not going to subject anybody to that, but I heard DA might. I heard you were maybe going to.
Oh, no, thank you. I'd look like a Bartlett pear with a rubber band wrapped around it.
Yeah, exactly. Here, me too. I mean, people are going to be like, dude, he needs to get into the water. He's dying. And they try to roll you in. Like, no, I'm here for the slides. Oh, no, sir, you'd break that. Sorry. You need to go to the ocean where you can live, Sea Pig. But the thing is, like, we all, don't just go there and pat each other on the back and say, "Oh, you did a good job. Come on." No, you got to get up there and deliver and do a good, whatever. And you did that last year, and I hope you do it again this year, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think that everybody that goes will walk away glad that they went, and I know they will. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to be blown away because there's so much stuff we have planned and so much stuff that we're going to do. I think it's going to be amazing. If everybody just goes, that's the thing. We just got to get them to go. And there's a lot of people messaging me, I can't go that day. I'm organizing my sock drawer. Sorry, or they're telling me they got to work. Well, come on, man. You have now 3.5 months to tell work that you got to go. I mean, come on. Unless it's like some serious job or you're a thoracic surgeon and you have some, surgery you have to get. I'm sure you could ask off if it's this far in advance, or let me talk to your boss. Put your boss on with me. I'll let them know what's up.
Like, even if you're saving a small child, I think this might be a little bit more important. That's all I'm saying.
What did you say, DA?
So Josh should set him straight.
Yeah.
He'll go all Joe Pesci on him.
Yeah. Tell them, look, they got this other thing they got to do. It's a thing. It's none of your business. It's just a thing we got to do up there in the area up there. So, who are you again? Don't worry about who I am, rubberneck. But DA, it's good talking to you. It's always good talking to you, always. And so we will see you at the conference. But also, you said you already said your next book. Where can the folks find you? Your show again?
You can find all of the books either on Amazon.com or on my website, which is daroberts.net. And you can find our show twice weekly, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook, but the show is called the DAX Machina Podcast. If you search DAX Machina Podcast on YouTube, it'll take you right to it.
Yeah, and go as soon as we get off of here, go and put the link to the show, if you can, on the Paranormal Roundtable group, and we'll approve it so we can do that, and then send it to me on my Facebook page, and I can stick it on there. Now, folks, remember
the link for the show is already up on the PRT group.
Okay, good. Now, folks, remember this show here. We will put on the link to the YouTube. We'll put it on the group, and then if you go and you leave a comment, you could win something. What is that something, Tony?
Well, usually if we like your comment, then I don't know is it a specific thing? Is it a book? If I remember correctly, it's a book. I might be forgetting. I'm a bit tired right now. But I think if we like your comment, then it's a book. And normally on the live streams, and as you know, we kind of just switch it around.
Also, if you have a story and you're having a hard time getting a response from me, it's because I'm backed up. But don't stop sending them, because I do read as many as I can, and I am a little backed up. Tony has redone his Facebook page. You want to tell him?
Yeah, my Facebook and my Instagram are PRT Mushu. It's pretty simple. Just send me a friend request. I'm already starting to post right now.
Mushu is MUSHU. Okay, and he'll be joining a bunch of groups like I'm in, like a bunch of groups, and also if you go and you to Instagram and you want to find me, it's Josh Turner 940. Josh Turner 940. And so if you go on there, I think the last post I made was me and David Weatherly. So just go on there, you'll see me on there. I don't even know what my face looks like on there. I can't even. What does it look like on there? I don't even know what I look like. So because people ask me all the time how to find me on Instagram, and I don't even know what my picture looks like.
I think it's a picture of you and Nelly.
Oh, it's a picture of me and Nelly.
Yeah.
And then Tony's is. This is what he thinks he looks like, which is...
That's not me. I don't know who did that.
This is you, dude. This is you trying to pretend like you look like that guy. What is that?
That's AI.
Well, I know it's AI, but who is that supposed to be?
I think that's dark.
It's a demonic imitation of him, like all AI is.
Oh, my God.
It's a shadow that's being surrounded
what Zane
on me.
And my brother were doing, too, all that crap. Whatever. But anyways, folks, that's DA Roberts. DA, I'm gonna run, and we're gonna talk tomorrow. We're gonna do it tomorrow.
Awesome.
Don't forget, folks. I got a Skinwalker story. I got a werewolf story. I got a Dogman story, because I don't know if they're all the same or if they're different creatures or whatever. And I got a Howler story. There's 4 things we can go over. And then we'll get into some more stuff with DA tomorrow on his show. But DA, thanks for coming on. And like I said, if you want to hear more from DA, go to his show, Deus Ex Machina, and then go to the conference and meet him in person.
Heck yeah, I'd love to meet everybody.
Yeah, and so hopefully we'll have a good time again, and I think we will. All right, man, I'm gonna run, let you bounce, and stick around, folks, because we're gonna do the Wheel of Destiny or whatever it's called.
Thanks again. Good night, everybody.
All right, good night, DA. So that was D.A. Roberts. And folks, if you're interested, I have some of his books here. So we're going to give you the option. If you just message me privately if you win tonight, and then you can get one of his books or you can get one of Barton's books. Just let me know what you want. The Patreon people, be patient because a bunch of people join. And I'm trying to sift through everybody who's been given something. If you would do me the courtesy, if you're a Patreon member, $20 and $30 tier, message me and say, hey, I have gotten my stuff, and message me in the next day or two and say, no, I have not gotten anything, and then I will be able to send you something. Okay, so I can get out everybody's swag bags. But we are a little backed up because right now, actually, I think Seven Clay messaged me, and that's the company we go through. I think they're supposed to be getting us some stuff early next week. So hopefully by Tuesday, I'm thinking at the latest we will have some more shirt sizes in because we're out of a few. But hopefully, and then we got jerseys that are being the mock-ups are being done, so we'll have those I think by Wednesday. And then I'm probably going to sport one in the next week or so and show you what they look like. So if you're interested in winning something, stick around. So let's pick people here to win. And a reminder, Jeff Miller, you need to get in touch with me, Michael Sincora, and Steph O'Connell. Steph O'Connell was threatening to break our legs last week and do all kind of, bad things to us. And
Very intimidating.
It scared us, she was terrorizing us. And then after all that, she didn't even bother to send me the email. I didn't get it anyway.
It wasn't about the merch. It was really about the message.
I think she was flexing on us, dude. I think that's all it was. Just to see if we fold, and we folded like cheap suit. We were scared. Fisher of Spa. What was that? Oh, okay. So if you haven't won, tell me right now in the chat, say, hey, I haven't won. And so we can pick you. We're going to pick 3 people. Jeff Miller says, about to come to Texas for the first time. I'd actually see some paranormal. Jeff, were you one of the winners from last week? Because if you were, then message me with your address, because I need that. I need your information so I can send you your stuff. Maynard Maynard says, best swag bag in the business. Yes, sir. That's right. We try to deliver. Thank you, Jay Crow, for that. Best show on YouTube. I don't know about all that, but I try to be a good show. Jay Crow says he's not won yet.
I saw a comment earlier that made me laugh. I can't remember who said it, but they said Joe Rogan's sending his demons because he hears we're catching up.
I think I'm a long ways from Joe, but me and Joe have mutuals, though. I'm surprised we haven't, met, because he knows some of the same people I do. Fisher of Spam says, I have not won yet. I haven't won yet, whatever. And then Randy Music says, I haven't won. Please, Barton's books and humanoids. Don Vila Overland says, I've never won. Silver Knight says he hasn't won. Or her. Him or her, I don't know. Or they. I don't know what your pronouns are. We're going to go through that. Like I said, me, I identify as a thin, fit person. Daniel Rodriguez, put him on there. He says, I'm not a winner yet. Yeah, Jeff Miller, thanks, guys. Email best. Yeah. You can email me, but Messenger is easier for me, but and it's easier to do and whatever, because I can. It's so the emails just gets backed up. But yeah, and you don't have to risk it going into spam. But yeah, go ahead and email. That's fine. Aussie Sue She says, I'm in Australia. The only thing I could do is maybe get you a Paul Wallace book. I still need to get back with him. He was on Jason Bland's show the other day, and he's got a huge channel, The Fifth Kind.
Send us a message on Patreon, Mike Turner, so that we can make sure.
What happened?
He said he's been a $20 Patreon member for 4 months, and he hasn't got his swag bag yet.
Okay. Sure thing, Mike. Or you can, when you come to the conference, I can give it to you there. It's up to you, man. If you want to wait, I'll hook you up fat at the conference, man.
Oh, Paul Seed also just bought a ticket. He said he bought a VIP ticket. He's ready to meet us down there. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Paul from Round Rock.
No, he was the one that did the $100 donation earlier.
But I thought Paul Seeds was from Round Rock.
Is he?
I thought so. He's a local Texan. What's going on? Spin the wheel? It's going to tell you how to spin the wheel. It's got a tutorial. Wow. You smart, Anthony. Boy, you so smart. You figured it out so quick on how to spin that wheel.
Yeah, what can I say?
Well, Anthony just became an uncle. What, little Lucas, when was Lucas born?
He was born 8:30 in the morning on the 10th. Or no. Was it? No, it was the 11th.
11th.
How do you feel?
I was so tired waiting at the hospital. He took forever.
He took forever. Anthony was up there till like the afternoon. He was like, he went up there in the middle of the night, and I was exhausted, dude. And so we had all this work. We had like trying to get these new accounts set up, and then I just said, go do what you got to do. And congratulations to my niece Gabby, who she brought a baby into the world this past week. So
you got any
God
tips?
bless us with that.
Because I'm about to be an uncle too. So
Yeah, you're going to be an uncle too. And it's from Lynn, right? Your sister Lynn. So when is that coming?
I'm not sure exactly.
Well, being that I've been an uncle for a full day and a half, I'm full of tips.
Yeah,
You seem like an expert. I mean, you just seem like elderly.
You would ask him
now that I
about
see you.
being. I've been his uncle for 30 years. I can tell you what it's like. It sucks. It's terrible. Zane made it even worse. I was like, God, this kid, all of y'all, man.
Well, I don't.
Gabby's one of the bright spots. She's cool.
I don't think you're a great. I'm not saying you're a bad uncle. I just think that most uncles don't take their nephews and nieces away from the parents and then raise them like that.
Oh, just in the
They
middle of
normally just
So I'm like
raise
the
them from a
skinwalker
distance.
that I'm going to talk about tomorrow night. I snuck in there and
and you just
I stole them a kid.
stole me from my cardboard box
Stole
with
the
the rest
kid.
of my litter.
I'm just going to take this one. Yeah. Oh, that was my whole plan, was to have a bunch of little turds running around my house every holiday. Okay, so it says here. All right, let's go.
All right, so let's see who wins on the breaking wheel. Jay Crow.
Jay Crow.
Sentenced to execution by breaking wheel, or you've been sentenced to get free stuff.
It's a toss up.
Well, that's cool. He's the one that we put on earlier first because he made a good comment about us.
Yeah.
Good karma.
All right, see who else.
Jay Crow.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if we just like whoever it got, you get double.
Well,
Jay's like
everybody
getting all
else.
excited. Sorry, Jay, we don't do that. But Heather Music says, husband and wife team here. Love your show.
Daniel
We
Rodriguez.
Love you. Daniel Rodriguez. All right.
Aussie Sue.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to do about that. The shipping there is astronomical. I can talk to Paul Wallace. Aussie Sue, give me your information, and let me see if I can get Paul Wallace to autograph a book and send it to you, because he might be willing to do that. I haven't worked the deal yet with him like I did with Paul Sinclair over in England, so the Brits get their books. But because I even had a person from Scotland get a book from him. Also, he's got a great documentary coming out, and Paul Sinclair is talking about he's going to probably make the conference.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
So that's another person that he don't come to the United States, bro. He's coming for us. Okay, So Ozzy, let me see if I can facilitate that. And if I wasn't so dang broke, I'd probably just send it to you on my own dime. I've done that too. So let's try someone else.
Yeah, I don't know what the Commonwealth countries have against receiving packages, but they seem to really hate
I
it.
can't believe how much it's cheaper to ship to Germany.
Chris Kyler.
Ooh, it's right on the
Well, it's barely on his name.
Yeah, okay. Who was the other one?
Lauren McLean.
Lauren McLean?
Yeah.
So we got Chris Kyler. Chris Kyler. And like I said, people from last week, I still need Michelson, Cora, and Steph O'Connell to give me their information.
Hey, Phil Stern.
Is Phil Stearns here?
He just joined.
Yeah,
He probably
popped
just
in.
woke up. He's drinking his coffee over there in Germany. Hi, Phil Stern. Yes. Drink your coffee and go to work.
He's having his morning beer.
like Jerome and Otto. And then, we put it in our cereal.
Yeah, it's a German
It's
thing.
Guinness, dude. What are you doing? We like to wake up and be a little tipsy all day with warm beer. All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. And somebody says, give it to Arlene Freeberg, please. Aussie Sue. Arlene, I believe, has gotten something from us. Arlene, hit me up, and we'll talk. Lauren says, Lauren, did I win something? You know what, Lauren? It's close enough on the wheel that I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I felt bad like saying her name on the
Yeah.
show, and then it's like, well, we said your name, but too bad you didn't
Who
win.
said your name? See ya. No, we're not going to do that.
Later.
So Lauren and
Sucks to suck. No.
Chris Kyle. I don't talk about my listeners like that. Jay Crow, Daniel Rodriguez,
Arlene says she hasn't won.
Arlene Freiberg hasn't won. Now, Arlene, I think you're a Patreon too. I'm not real sure, but you might want to go back and check. I think you used to be, or you might have been. Are you a Patreon member? I don't know. And Phil says, I will now rewind and watch the live. First hour, Phil, is you want to timestamp it. The real conversation about Dogman start about an hour in. The first hour is just me talking about my haunted house. So, okay, Arlene, then you win.
Okay, so everybody who won, make sure you send an email to the email address up top with your name and your mailing address. That's what you have to do to receive your prize.
Yeah, so be patient, folks, because right now I'm backed up, and I'm trying to get some Metamucil so I can take care of that. That's a horrible joke. But anyway, the point is that we're really backed up and we're behind because some people on Patreon are sending the information, and some people aren't. They're like, hey, $30, and they're not. There's nothing else. They're not sending me anything, telling me their addresses, or letting me know that I need to send them stuff. So, I need you all $20 and $30 tier on Patreon to please send me your information so that I can do that. And if you've already gotten something from me, then please put on there, hey, I got something, blah, blah, blah. So I think everything was already delivered from 2 weeks ago or the week before last, so that now it should be clean slate. If you haven't gotten anything, you should have already gotten something. So if you haven't, then I need your information, okay? Because it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now this week, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people to send, and then I also got I think 8 or 9 $30 and $20 tier people that so far that
It's 11 actually, because it's also the Facebook group too.
Yeah, well, that'll be on there too, along with the people but I need their information. So it'll probably be 15, 20 people I got to get mailed to. So I'm a little backed up. So we may skip the giveaway next week, just so I can get caught up, and then I need to make sure that I'm getting everybody their stuff, because if I told you you're going to get something, I want to give it to you. But like I said, with the people just for today, that adds another almost a dozen people, and then I still got 3 or 4 that I got that had hit me up and said, hey, I didn't get anything. And then I got 9 or 10, on the Patreon. So, or maybe it's 8 or 9, something like that. But anyway, if you haven't gotten anything from the Patreon, let me know, because I want you to have something. I want to give it to you. This is what I do. I love to give things. And Christmas, birthdays, people say I go overboard, whatever. That's what I do. I just, just the way I am, dude. I like to give. I like to help people out, and I want you to be able to have our merchandise, and people like it. They think it's cool. They get compliments or whatever. That's cool, man. I don't take credit for the design. Actually, it was Anthony that you can credit him for the designs, and we trademarked them and everything. Now, there is something going on too that I wanted to tell you all about. We have another show that is using our name, and it's been brought to my attention on multiple occasions. I don't want to be a jerk and go and tell them, hey, stop using our name. They don't really have a huge following or whatever, but if it starts to get to that point, I may have to be like, look, this is copyright infringement. So some people are saying, hey, I'm searching Paranormal Roundtable and there's other things popping up. Now, I don't know. I think that it's some kind of, I think one of them is actually a show that's kind of small. And then I think the other one is they're just using the Paranormal Roundtable name as
a title.
As a title for, what they do. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't have a problem. I'm not trying to be, I'm okay with that. If it's in the past and you don't continue to do it and you said, hey, I'm sorry, whatever, but they have not reached out to me and said, hey, I made a mistake, I won't do it again, and it looks like they're continuing. So that could become a problem in the future because that's not correct. I did pay to have this trademarked, and it does belong to us, and so that isn't really something that I like. But like I said, I'm not like going to go witch hunt somebody because maybe they didn't know. But if you come across that, just remember the logo will tell you. And we have two different logos. One of them is a werewolf, a zombie, and a Bigfoot, and then a UFO above them. The other one is a werewolf, Bigfoot, and then in the middle is a hand coming out of the ground. So, anyways, folks, thank you for listening. We love you. We really do. I do. I don't know about Tony. I think Tony doesn't really care.
I love me, and I know you all do too.
Okay,
so
whatever, dude. But anyways, thank you for listening, and please tune in on Tuesday. Tuesday, we have a guy coming on who tells his Dogman encounter. We've already done the show. We've recorded it, and so you got two weeks, two Tuesdays of Dogman. It's going to be great. And this guy, he tells his story. He's told it before, but we got into some stuff. We start asking some questions, and we try to do something different than everybody else. We don't just go, tell us your story. Wow, I can't imagine how that is. We don't do that. We just say, wow, that's good. See ya. No. What we do is we get into it, and we start asking some hard questions because that's what you do. Okay? So anyways, folks, tomorrow night, find me tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, Deus Ex Machina. It's DEUSEXMACHINA, I believe is how you spell it.
I can find it again, and I'll post it in the chat.
Post the link on the chat. We'll do that real quick before we bail. And that's going to be where you're going to find me tomorrow night talking about Dogman. Remember, I got a Skinwalker story, I got a werewolf story, I got a Dogman story, and I got an Ozark Howler story. So you're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be epic. We're going to be tomorrow night on D.A. Roberts' show. And show him some love. Right? Show him some love. He's a good guy. He works hard. Show him some love. Let's flood his chat room tomorrow and give him the kind of respect and love that he gives to us. So let's show him what PRT can do. And let's get these tickets sold. And let's get to the conference. And let's do this. Show everybody in this community what we're about. Because, folks, and listen to what I'm going to tell you. We're trying to effect a change in this community. People have the reputation like, oh, you're always arguing, fighting people. No, the wars are over. As far as I'm concerned, the wars are over. The wars have been fought. Okay? The people that needed to be put in their place and things that need to be rectified have been done. The battles are fought. You're now part of Rome. Do what we tell you. I'm joking. No, look. It's over. We're not fighting and arguing with anybody anymore. Okay, those days, it's the bullying and all the crap that they did to us. They can't do that anymore. We're big enough now. They can't mess with us. They can't push us around. And we were bullied in the early days. We had mean, bad things going. People spamming us, hacking us, doing everything they possibly could to us. And when you're walking through hell, keep walking. And that's what we did. Okay, and now we are where we're at. We're here where we're here. And so what we're doing now is we are moving forward. We have our friends, our allies, whatever, and we're working together to try to effect a change, to stop a lot of the bickering and the infighting, and to try to get to the bottom of what is going on with these creatures and these spiritual manifestations and all this other stuff. The alien abduction, you know, like me and Barton did all these shows on Bigfoot, and it was like alien abduction after alien abduction. I'm like, what's going on here? We're doing Bigfoot, and it's turning up alien abduction. So, you know, I'm trying to affect a change here. I want to see the community change for the better. But unfortunately, to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. And I'm sorry, I bruised some egos, and I may have alienated a few people's fan bases because they didn't like that I went after their favorite guy or gal that was full of crap. But that had to happen in order for us to get to where we're at, you know. And if you think for a second that's what I enjoy is fighting with other podcasters or people, that's not me. No, I don't want that. Those people brought war to my doorstep, to our doorstep. I didn't do this. Somebody said in the comment section on the Expanded Perspectives, they said, start talking about the situation with VC. And they said, Josh did this and that to him, and that's why I quit listening to him. I never listen to him anymore after what he did. What did I do? Okay? It's not what I did. It was something he did, but I forgive him. I don't care. You can listen to him and listen to me. I don't care. Now, am I going to be his best friend or whatever? No, I'm not. Obviously, but to me, he's water under the bridge. I don't care. Okay? The stories need to be retold anyway. They weren't done properly over there, and they need to be retold. And some of them are going to come out in the book that are changed to correct the mistakes because, like I said, his show, it's his circus, his monkeys. He can do what he wants. And I was not permitted to really tell the stories the exact way that I wanted to tell them. But now you're going to get it all, you know, and here we are now on YouTube. I think we're approaching 22,300 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And we have tens of thousands of people on the other platforms. We have 16 other platforms and on the podcast. And so we've grown and we just continue to grow. We're adding, 500 people a month, just get your friends to subscribe, keep watching, do the Patreon thing, help us out, help us so we can take time off work. We take time off work every week to do this. And right now it's really hard because we got some work finally because we were hurting for the last 2-3 weeks. And we're having to take time off to do this, and that's fine. But we've got to be able to continue to fund what we're doing. And the conference is a big one. We got to do this. And so, folks, I want to see you guys there. I really do. I want to hang out. I want to be there with you guys. What are you doing?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. You said you were ready for war, so I thought we were arming up.
Oh, okay. Are you going to wear the Psycho Bunny shirt?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
He's reaching over. He wanted something. I gave him the steak. I guess I could have gave you the werewolf statue over here, but I didn't know if you're going to hit somebody with that.
Said you were ready for war.
Okay, folks, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Shout out to the Patreon members that keep us going. Thank you to the guests that come on and speak. Thank you for everybody who sends me a story. And there's a lot of you, believe me. And I thank you so much and introducing me to people, the family and friends. Because if you don't have a story, they probably do. So from everybody up here at Paranormal Roundtable, thank you. Good night. See you on Tuesday. Oh, tomorrow night.